And streaming online and in the Odyssey app at The Fan Rochester. The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester, an Odyssey sports station.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Amherst. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
As we welcome you here to Rochester's #1 afternoon drive sports talk show. You found the sports bar. Gene Battaglia with you. Mike Danger will be back on Monday. But, look, any team has quality depth, right? The Bills have quality depth. They're not worried. We have terrible take Timmy. Now, some of his takes aren't quality, but we still love him. And no surprise, you're in your Guardians regalia here once again.
Yeah, it's playoff season, and the Guardians look like they're going to be a part of it. So I have hats of many teams, and I wear them semi-frequently. But once it's playoff season, I'm strictly Cleveland. So apparently, all I'm wearing is Cleveland stuff. Though I've got shorts on, the quarter zip, the hat. We're ready for it.
All
playoffs,
right,
baby.
Question, and for folks who want to know a little bit more about Tim, one of your other responsibilities here is that you are the producer of Rochester Americans Hockey here on the Fan Rochester, where another season's about to begin. That's coming up October 10th. It's a Friday. Are you going to be able to sneak in a Guardians postseason game, or you talking about that with the coach? How's that going to work out?
I've looked a little bit. It's still so uncertain whether or not they're going to be home, away, all that. Like, once there's an actual set in stone schedule, I might be able to work something out. But as it stands now, there's still so many moving parts that I can't commit to anything, especially with the Amherst season coming up. I would love to. It is an absolute goal. And like I said earlier in the week, if I wasn't here doing this today, yesterday, and the day before, I would have been down there for this Detroit series. I will trade this for that and then hope to be able to turn it into playoffs instead. Well,
the good thing is you're not doing this here today for free.
Correct.
We are actually, can you believe that, kids? It's actually here. I remember this last year, Tim, where I'm trying to come up with all the scenarios. And like you, I'm a little bit like most people. Like the Mets last year, there was a vibe to that team. I'm like, wow, okay, you got by the Brewers. All right, we can take out Philly. They took out Philly. I'm like, wow, if they make the World Series against the Yankees or the Guardians. And I remember even having this conversation with you. I believe it wasn't on the air, but how could we finagle this? How could we pull this off? There are certain things like once in a lifetime that, all right, we could kind of make this work. My brother-in-law last year, Yankee fan, he bought tickets, but paid $1,000 standing room and did that in advance. And you remember what happened in that series. The Dodgers won the first three. And, well, he got to go and see, the one win there. But it's along those lines. If you're going to, pony up for something like this, it's gonna cost you here, Tim, for sure.
Yeah, I got an email. I actually laughed at it. An hour ago, Cleveland sent out wild card ticket sales. And 2 weeks ago, that was an afterthought. Yeah. And now, not only are they in line to make the playoffs, they are in line to host a playoff series. So, I've got my eyes open. I've got my availability as close to open as possible. And if it works out, awesome. If not, TV works too.
We'll get to the Bill stuff here in a second. And if you are just following this stuff, oh, boy, thank you, Pittsburgh Pirates. Thank you. Pirates winning last night in extra innings. Cincinnati now still just behind the Mets here. Hanging on for dear life, the Mets here. The Reds right now playing the Pirates on a getaway Thursday. They're scoreless in the fifth. That game on Major League Baseball Network. Everything else is irrelevant to the postseason chase. Although, coming up at the bottom of the hour, we'll have Houston in Sacramento. We will have the Dodgers and Arizona. Arizona's still, I can't say farting around because that's what the Mets are doing. So, we are just collectively, that's not a fun race here, Tim. And as I look at the Guardians, 86 wins. They're not. I don't think they catch Seattle.
Seattle has to lose out. Cleveland has to win out.
Yeah. So that seems a little unlikely. So who would you like to face? Because it's a 1-game lead for the Guardians on Detroit, but really it's a 2-game lead because you won the season series. So do you want Detroit coming back? Would you like it to be the Astros? I mean, there's a few different possibilities here.
Yeah, part of me wants Boston just because they seem the most beatable based on how Cleveland matches up. Detroit, a third time in 3 weeks would be tough to have that pan out. Houston, I just don't like in general. So I guess maybe them as the 6 because I like them the least of those 3 options, but also I don't want them in the playoffs whatsoever, so get them gone. But the fact, again, that we can even discuss it based on what we were talking about 2 weeks ago, the trajectory that Texas and Cleveland went on after that series is polar opposite. Cleveland's won 17 out of 19, and the Rangers have lost, I think, other than yesterday, they lost 8 or 9 in a row. So Cleveland in the mix. Now, 2 weeks ago, they had a 2% playoff chance. Now they have a 96% playoff chance. That's crazy.
We have time for your calls. We always do. Our phone number is 866-4326, 866-4FAN if you have a take. If you just want to kind of contribute, if there's an angle that maybe we're missing on something, by all means, your participation is welcome. We are streaming online on YouTube and on Twitch. You can leave a comment in the comment section on YouTube if you so desire. For some reason, the lighting here looks like I'm in Hades or something. It's just like all bright red here. So I don't know why that is today, but okay. If you're watching, everybody, hello. Of course, we're on 95.7 FM and 950 and always streaming for free in the Odyssey app. The table is set. Now, let me tell you the guest we have today. And coming up, as he always does, 4 o'clock hour, Andy Behrens from the Deep Shot. As now we're into week 4 of the NFL season, which begins tonight. The Cardinals and the Seahawks and Arizona. Okay, running back situation. James Conner is out. Who do you trust? A lot of situations in the NFL are changing. Are we feeling good about Cam Scatterbo moving forward? We're getting Andy's thoughts on some of these new situations in the NFL. As we like to say, we try to optimize your lineup. Use it kind of as a resource as you're getting ready here to begin your fantasy football week. Really excited to talk to our guest here at the bottom of this hour, as he's a legend. Tim, there aren't too many people that they were a successful athlete in their hometown or their home area, and then they transition to another career, and they're very successful doing that. Bobby Hebert fits that. Bobby Hebert, who Jack pointed out and on social when we first mentioned that he was coming on the show, he actually started off in the USFL, won a championship, but then goes to the Saints. And those Saints teams in the late 80s, early 90s, fun kind of team. They, didn't get to the Super Bowl, obviously, but Bobby Hebert then finishing up with the Falcons. Today, he hosts a sports talk show, WWL New Orleans, legendary station in New Orleans. So we'll get the Cajun Cannon coming up at the bottom of this hour. Tim, can't wait. One of the questions is like, okay, Bill Saints, paint me a picture of how the Saints win this game.
That's what I've been waiting to hear all week. The opportunity for the Saints to actually come in and steal this game. And again, you mentioned it before we came on the air. The spread's moving. It's not moving very much, but the Bills still more than 2-score favorites. And where is an opening for the Saints to come in and steal this on the road against arguably the best team in the NFL?
I think we still consider that 2 scores, not more. 15.5 would be.
Yeah, sure, but you've got to get the extra. Yeah, it's not just the 6-6 and 1-1. You've got to do something else beyond it.
I think anytime you're going north of 10 in this league, where the Bills could rest some players, like, do you remember like Tyrod actually had a touchdown drive for the Jets in the end? No, probably you don't, because it was irrelevant to the game, or maybe you left the game at that point. I'm talking about the Week 2 game where the Bills just thrashed the Jets. Could be that situation. I'm just curious, like, what is exactly the plan in New Orleans? I think we're all kind of led to believe, all right, there's this kid, Arch Manning, and maybe he comes out next year, but if he doesn't, let's kind of point things in the right direction. This is before this past draft. Like, wait a second, they drafted Tyler Shuck? Like, watching that, like, wait a second, they didn't draft Deion's son? What's going on here? And Well, it's a franchise, in my opinion, Tim, that they have their foot on the accelerator, but the emergency brake is on.
Yeah.
It seems like you don't like. It's fine with the way they go out and they buy talent, and they're always kind of screwing themselves against the cap. But at some point, you're going to have to hit the reset button. I mean, the Bills kind of sort of did that last year. It wasn't big time, but you think about all the talent they let go, and the national narrative was like, okay, this team is not good. Mike Clay picked the Jets to go to the Super Bowl. Check that, win the Super Bowl last year. The Saints have never really had that reset. So when I'm thinking, okay, this is the time to do the reset, gut everything, do this the way we saw the Bills do it. You're not tanking. You're just going with younger talent, and anybody who isn't going to be here in 4 years. Can we get something for that right now?
One thing that the Bills do that they don't receive national claim for is knowing when to get rid of the guys when it's time to get rid of them. Like, you can question, is it time? But it always turns out I don't think there's one player in recent memory that the Bills got rid of was like, oh man, I wish we still had him, to where he was a contributor at that point with the Bills. Like Trey White, they got rid of at the right time. He's back again, but in a different role.
Well, there are always exceptions. I mean, they didn't know what they had in that offensive lineman who's starting for Cleveland now.
Oh yeah, no, but again, they gave him away before they knew what they had. But with guys that started for the Bills during this last heyday of the last 5, 6, 7 years, the guys that they're getting rid of, it's not just a cap move; it's part of it. But they're also not as good as what their cap number is, so they're getting rid of them at the right time.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Like Devin Singletary, let's take for example. Devin Singletary, okay, Houston wants to pay you that. You know, good luck. We'll draft somebody else. Countless examples. There's yet to meet the Bills fans. Like, man, it would be nice to have Tremaine Edmonds. Tremaine Edmonds, I always thought, okay, this guy's going to be a late bloomer. He's going to be a late bloomer, and then you realize, well, maybe that's not going to happen. I'm trying to wish this into existence. And sure, he made a play for the Bears last week, and I do hope that he ends up delivering on the promise of being drafted where he was in the first round. But it wasn't going to happen in Buffalo, and if it wasn't going to happen in Buffalo, it's okay. Like you could point to any number. The one that Marshawn Lynch going for a 3rd round pick, and when he's in Buffalo, serviceable running back. Had some off the field issue stuff, but nothing that was, in today's day and age, would that be worthy of a suspension? I don't even know. But he gets to Seattle, now he's a Hall of Fame running back. I mean, those are the types of ones that, that's kind of what you're talking about. And in this era, when Diggs left, I think we all kind of questioned how this would look, but we all recognized this wasn't a great relationship. Maybe it's time for a change. And when we just didn't know how the Bills were going to respond. And the funny thing that happened was that Josh Allen responded by having the best season of his career. And to follow that up, he's had the best 3 games of his career, maybe not stat-wise, but in terms of managing a game. And the offense just, when the offense is playing like that, you can be down by 15 points or whatever it was to Baltimore with 4 minutes to go, and you could still win the game, as Buffalo did. Good point on that, Tim. Like, the Bills really do know how to manage a roster in that regard. Who's going to be, like, the next guy to go? The note today, it's like, I think a lot of us expect A.J. Epinesa to be wearing a different uniform next year. Maybe Matt Milano. Bring those names up because just taking a look, the practice report today hasn't come out officially, but it sounds like Milano is once again not out there. Ed Oliver not returning. And you also have the aforementioned A.J. Epinesa, who was practicing. He was limited yesterday with some sort of pectoral issue. It's a Saints team, Tim, that, okay, if you have Ed Oliver not 100%, if you have Matt Milano not 100%, you rest these guys.
Yeah, always you want your best guys out there at all times, but in an event like this where the team that they're on the other side from, you don't need to be at 100% to beat a team that at 100% isn't any good. So there's a couple of things that they need to do depth-wise to make this the best roster available to them. But that said, you've got guys that have already shown that they can step up. Deion Walker's looked great this year. TJ Sanders looks all right. Like, there's guys that have stepped up into roles that they weren't necessarily built for out of the gate, and they look all right at the moment. And again, they're playing a team. The spread's 15.5 for a reason. So they're expected to do well without these guys factored in.
All right, I'm going to submit a name to you. This is Chris writing in. You can write to us on X, our handle, The Fan Rochester. I would argue Harrison Phillips was someone they let walk. He was really good, remained good for the Vikings. Now he's not as good. I would respectfully disagree on that. Harrison Phillips did make a play that gave the Vikings the opportunity to mount an unbelievable comeback in that last matchup from 3 years ago. I'll give you that. He's just a rotational guy, I think, Harrison Phillips.
Yeah, and for the money I think that he ended up commanding, it didn't fit into what the Bills were doing at that time. And I think that that's around the same time that they had committed to Von Miller, who was historically overpaid. But that was what it was, so you had to account for that. And Harrison Phillips, a fine player, an all-right player, but not a guy that you're a building block for, especially for what the team was at that moment.
No, and if it were somebody that the Bills would be like, oh, we really want this guy back, you think that maybe the Bills got a call on Harrison Phillips? Would you like him back?
I think the phrase there, some guy said it. I forgot who it was. He's just a guy. So
yeah, that would be you.
That
was you about Taron Johnson. Widely inappropriate. Now, this year, because of availability, you might be right, but that was last year's take, Tim. So I'm sorry, it doesn't work that way. Before we get to Bobby A. Bear at the bottom of the hour, there are other stories in the NFL. And, hey, if you're a Giant fan, you got to be excited, right? This is your time. This is the kid. Here we go. Let's start the clock. And even if you lose this game against the Chargers, can you see flashes? Can you see Jackson Dart making plays and give you something to be excited about for the future? And, hey, it's also media day with the Giants. Let's kind of check in here. And let's ask Dexter Lawrence, Shelley. Dexter, what do you think here about, having a new quarterback?
Do you think it's the right move for the team at this point?
That ain't my call, honestly. I just he's my quarterback now, so I'm gonna be by his side and roll with him to the end.
When did you find out, and how did you find out?
To say what everybody else found out.
Now, this is something where in our medium here, we lose a little off the fastball. I have to describe the question there and the look from Lawrence, like, hey, you've got a new quarterback. Tim, he looks at the reporter and shrugs his shoulders.
It is what it is moment if there ever was one.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's refreshing. We want players to be real and honest, but we deal with so much canned, this is the way to respond, and the way you would normally respond is, yeah, we're all behind him, and we're looking forward to this, and we'll see what they can do, and as a defense, we're hoping to help out. You can get any of that. He just shrugged his shoulder like, all right, not my call.
That's my quarterback.
What's he saying? Like it should be Jameis Winston? Because I would actually listen. I'll listen to something else here, and it's a very contrarian point that, hey, get the kid in there, get Jackson Dart, start the clock now. There are some that would say he's not ready, and if he's not ready, then go to something else. That it actually should be Jameis Winston going in there and seeing what Jameis Winston, how he could move this offense. Tim, he's a turnover machine. He's wildly entertaining, though, but I just thought that piece of audio and seeing Dexter Lawrence just kind of shrug his shoulders like, okay, yeah, our next guy. Boy, that must make Jackson Dart feel all warm and fuzzy inside.
Yeah, I was going to say, if your guys, your own 53, don't trust you or rely on you or aren't willing to out of the gate, like, yeah, they'll go to bat for each other because they're teammates, but to audibly hear, okay, that's my quarterback, I guess, because somebody else said so, that is pretty alarming. If I'm Jackson Dart and my first game hasn't even happened yet, and I've already got teammates that are weary of my abilities and capabilities to lead this team, not a good first investment.
It might just be a rookie thing too, and a Steeler fan can help me with this. it sounds crazy to say this now because you say the name Tommy Maddox, you're like, oh, yeah, that guy. Yeah, that
XFL.
guy. XFL. And then he was with the Steelers, and he was okay. And I think the story that he gets hurt, and then somebody asked about Ben Roethlisberger, and a teammate kind of along the same lines, like, no, he's a rookie. Like, not excited. So I think it's kind of, if you're Dexter Lawrence, and if you see Jackson Dart, all it's going to take is one win, a couple touchdown passes. Maybe not even that. Maybe just, show some things, show some life. But the other angle of this, Tim, is we don't know, what goes on in that locker room. We don't know how kids are received. And Jackson Dart is going around thinking that I've got this made here, and Dexter Lawrence kind of inadvertently telling you, all right, well, get ready, everyone. This might not be pretty this week.
If you're in that locker room and you have a preference to Wilson or Winston over Dart, that's fine. But long term, neither of those guys are the answer. And similar to what the Patriots did last year with Drake May was intentionally benched basically to preserve his health. And as soon as he got out there, he was injured. If that's something that the Giants are looking into for long-term success, and that's what the players want, I understand it. And it's actually awesome that they're being honest about it. But at the end of the day, Jackson Dart gives the best team to win in the future. Winston's a one-off that at this point, what's he doing there if they're not going to use him? But Dart's there. They've moved on from Wilson to Dart. And if you don't have the backing of your 53, good luck to you. But you're right in the regard, winning fixes everything. And neighbors can get into it with Dart and they'll have camaraderie, then they're off and running and good to go.
Bobby Hebert, WWL New Orleans, a former Saints quarterback, will be joining us. You can also chime in on X, The Fan Rochester, phone number 866-4FAN, 866-4326, here on The Fan.
Sports Update.
A.J. Epineza back at practice today for the Bills. The official injury report has yet to come out. The point spread right now, Buffalo by 15.5. Josh Allen expects the Saints defense to come at him.
The challenge is, again, they're going to have their ears pinned back. They want to win as badly as anybody in the league right now. And, again, there's no easy games in this league. They're going to come out. They're going to have their best shot, and we got to figure out how to stop that and adjust accordingly during the game.
Bills and Saints, our coverage will begin at 9 a.m. this Sunday here on The Fan. Former Saints quarterback and current Saints host on WWL, Bobby Hebert, joining us next here in the Sports Bar. Sabres preseason game number 3 tonight in Detroit. Baseball, the Reds, they've gone up 2-0 on Pittsburgh. They're in the 5th. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
There are very few athletes who fit this bill. A successful career synonymous with the community they played for. And on top of that, then you go on, you have another career that you are synonymous with, and one of the few that fits the bill. He's joining us on the phone right now. Former New Orleans Saints quarterback and current afternoon show host, WWL in New Orleans, Bobby Hebert. Bobby, it's a thrill to have you on. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Yeah, I was definitely homegrown. I was raised, 50 miles south of New Orleans. Like, say, what, you in the Gulf of Mexico? Yeah, and definitely in the Bayou country. And with a name like Hebert, they're not calling you Hebert or Herbert. They know how to pronounce it in Louisiana. So it's one of those old French Cajun names, French Canadian. So, about Rochester, you're not too far from Nova Scotia, which is called Acadie. My ancestors came here in 1648. So, and I'll always brag about my 14th great-grandfather, Antoine Hebert. He was a cooper. People say, well, what is a cooper? He was a barrel maker. Well, think how you had to store stuff back in the day. And, you can't make a bad barrel, and that'd be your occupation. But that'd be kind of monotonous if you had to do it every day. So yeah, I have a lot of roots in the New World, in North America, and especially in the New Orleans area. Yeah,
and Bobby, before we get we have all our football questions here for you. But as you know, we just passed the 20-year mark since Katrina. I'm not using the word anniversary because I think that connotates good things. 20-year mark since Katrina. Of course, there are some wounds I would imagine that never go away. So how is your community doing today?
Well, whenever you have a major franchise, and we have a couple of them in the Saints and the Pelicans, although they're not doing too well right now, you considered, a big-time city. But we're a small city, big town, very similar to a community like in upstate New York, around Buffalo. It's just that I always say, hey, they're Yankees, we're from the South, but we've seen the same blue-collar people, and I think the Bills Mafia is very similar to the Who Dat Nation.
Yeah, I do love your fan base down there. I think a lot of people do. Bobby Hebert, WWL New Orleans, former Saints quarterback. The current Saints here, Kellen Moore, the new head coach. And, but it's early on, right? And this isn't a quick fix. So your thoughts on the job he's done so far, and how much time do you think he's going to get? How much time does he need to build things his way?
Well, Ms. Gail Benson, the owner of the team, they're going to be patient with Kellen. But I said, don't expect Sean Payton. We definitely rebuilding. Sean Payton, Drew Brees, them days are over. And I can recall, I try to tell the fans where any given Sunday, that's why they play the game. It's pros versus pros. But it'd be a monumental upset if the Saints could come away with a win. I think they're kind of hoping maybe have a chance in the fourth quarter. You look at the Dolphins. No one thought, even though it's a divisional rival, Dolphins-Bills, but it was 21-21. Now, I don't know if that'll be the case, but, just got to go out there and play hard. They played hard against the Cardinals and the 49ers' first two games. The last possession had an opportunity to win. They couldn't pull away with a win, but you're going against the MVP, the best of the best, in Josh Allen. I try to tell fans, to be on a positive side, look at the glass half full. They've had success in Buffalo. The Saints organization has had success. Small sample size. They've met 12 times. But New Orleans has won 7 games and lost 5, and they have an ultimate road record. They 4-1 in those road contests. You know, I look the Bills. They haven't beaten the Saints in Buffalo. You know, it's still the same stadium. It was called Rich Stadium back in 1983, and then this was one of the most unbelievable games under Sean Payton and Drew Brees. You probably remember this. It was in November of 2017. It was 47-10. The Saints won. I remember Bills fans so frustrated leaving early in the third quarter. That's when Mark Ingram ran for 131 yards. Alvin Kamara ran for 106. But them days are over, so I'm trying to give them hope that we've gone to a hostile environment like Buffalo and come away with a win. But there's a reason why. I don't know, the point spread was fluctuated between 14.5, 16.5. Now it's 15.5. That type of point spread, if you had that in college football, it'd be like the Bills would be favored like 48.5 points. So, I mean, you don't see these double-digit point spreads in the NFL. So, I don't know. The Saints might have a backdoor cover, you know, when all's said and done. But to come away with a win, I just don't see this happening. For instance, like the last time the Saints were this big of an underdog, I was in 10th grade. And
Wow.
look at this matchup. November of 1975, it was a matchup between Archie Manning, you know, the grandpa of Arch Manning, and Peyton and Eli's dad. They were playing Fran Tarkenton and the Vikings. We all remember old school Fran Tarkenton. So, no, this is a monumental point spread. And, no, it would take almost a miracle for the Saints to beat the Bills. The Bills would have to shoot themselves in the foot, but you know what? The Bills don't turn over the ball. Now, I was reading this like 25 straight games. They're not losing the turnover battle, that being the Bills, and 8 straight games without a turnover. I forgot who they were tied with, but you got to go back to like 1933 because usually, you know, you have your force a fumble, and you know, I'm not even talking about scoring points, scoop and score, or a pick six. But right now, the Saints, they're not even close to coming away with an interception. Now, the last time they played the Bills, if I can recall, I think Josh Allen threw a couple of interceptions against the Saints. But right now, he should have caught that instead of getting a pass defending. We'd have had an interception. No, they're not even close to taking away the football. And but the Saints to realistically have a chance. I think we in the bottom, for sure, I'd say the bottom 6, maybe even the bottom 4. We even in the turnover margin, even to have a chance, they'd have to be not +1, but like +2 or 3. And the Bills would just play like, whoa, that was a disaster. The Saints just aren't that good right now. But, you know, like say any given Sunday, who would have thought, look, we look in the NFC South, the Falcons lost to Carolina 30-0. Now, what's up with that? I mean, it just shows you it's pros versus pros. And I think the maturity of the Bills team, they're not going to overlook the Saints in that regard. But the best formula, you know, when you're playing a team like this, I can remember when I was playing, is you don't want to give them any hope. You want to jump on them quick, and that was the case in Seattle last week. I mean, it was 6 minutes left in the first quarter, and the Saints were losing 21-0. Just a debacle, embarrassing special teams performance, and that's usually been one of their strengths. But they're getting punch blocked, getting punch returned for a touchdown. So, no, the Who Dat Nation is not too optimistic right now, and no one has patience in this day and age. But when I look at Kellen Moore, you know, coaches can't get fired after 1 year in the NFL. But I think the way this organization is run, that he won't be in the hot seat until next year, because even going into, you know, the season, we were talking about the draft, and I said, yeah, they can kind of have the same type season they had last year where they won 5 games. I think the over and under in Vegas was like 5.5. But then they invested in their offensive line. Now, this is interesting that, you know, whenever you invested in the draft, don't that have to be a dominant area in your team or great? Well, the Chargers and the Saints were the only teams that potentially, at the beginning of training camp, had 4 of their 5 starters drafted in the first round. And now, you know, then all of a sudden, you know, San Diego's where you would think, and they're winning on the line of scrimmage. I mean, the Los Angeles Chargers. But the Saints right now, their offensive line, they've had injuries, but even before their injuries, no, they have to be great, and they were not great. The only way I think you could stop Josh Allen is if the Saints can't run the ball, they won't have no chance. The young quarterback, Spencer Rattler, he's trying to just get his first win. You know, like you 0-9 and stuff as a starter. So They have a couple of bright spots, but a lot of their main players are old. You know, Demario Davis, Cam Jordan, a guy they were counting on to get a bunch of sacks. Chase Young, he's hurt. I think he had the ability, the way he showed in camp, that he can have double-digit sacks. And then you got Alvin Kamara, the 30-year-old running back, but kind of like Christian McCaffrey, but they just don't have enough weapons. And a lot of times it could be the case against the Bills. It might look like the junior varsity versus the varsity team. I know it was like that versus the Seahawks.
WWL host and former New Orleans Saint quarterback Bobby Hebert, our guest here in the Sports Bar. And Bobby, you brought up the 2017. Oh yeah, I was there. There's a streaker that was running on. It was just that was not a good afternoon for Buffalo. And you mentioned how the Saints up in Buffalo have had all of this success. I remember game 1989. You were on that Saints roster. It was John Forcade coming in and out-dueling Jim Kelly, and it was snowing that day and whatever. This is the last year. This is also a storyline of this game. This will be the last trip that the Saints will ever make in this current stadium. Whether it was with the Saints or the Falcons, did you ever play the Bills in Buffalo, Bobby? What do you remember about this stadium?
No, I didn't. I was hurt at that time, and John Forcade did an outstanding job. He threw for over 300 yards. You know, I remember about that 89 season. In the first 8 games, I had the highest quarterback rating in the whole NFL. This is better than Joe Montana and everything. So, you know, we were a 500 team that year. We had dealing with injuries. You know, there's no excuse. You know, you have to be able to overcome that. But the game I remember against Buffalo, and I have the record now, and I was so glad that Lamar Jackson didn't surpass it, playing the competitive other conference. I had won 20 straight games against the AFC, and the 21st game, this is 1992, I lost to the Buffalo Bills and Jim Kelly. You know, that's when the Bills were going to 4 straight Super Bowls. So they were like an NFC team at that time. So, but I never actually got to play in Buffalo. But like I said, on a negative response, it was like I think 20-some we had lost to the Bills in the Superdome, and that year we didn't even win the NFC West, and we went 12-4 because the 49ers were going 14-2. So you know, not in the right division, right time, but you know, going back to Lamar, I remember I said I never cheered so hard because I was like, man, that's one record I would like to have. Is that I think he had won 11 or 12 or 13 in a row, somewhere around there, and then he lost to the Giants because he's had the NFC's number like I had the AFC number. But the Bills, boy, back in the day, you know, late 80s, early 90s, they were like an NFC team, could hang with Reggie White, the Eagles, Lawrence Taylor, and the Giants, the 49ers, and they just couldn't get over that hump. But I know Bills fans know this. Realistically, they had a chance to win one Super Bowl. That very first one, you know, Norwood, you got to make that field goal to win the game against the Giants. But the other 3, no, they weren't the better team. So you got to take advantage of opportunity when you get there. And the Saints only been to one Super Bowl, but they were able to win it with Sean Payton and Drew Brees. But, no, the Bills right now are the measuring stick. And I always take the approach of how can you not cheer for the Bills? I mean, who hates the Bills? Unless you're in the AFC East, everyone likes the Bills. It's like the Lions. Who's not going to cheer for the Lions to do anything? But, no, they're kind of the measuring stick right now, especially that unbelievable comeback they had against the Ravens to come away with a win. And Josh Allen just unbelievable. But if the Saints can't run against the Bills and keep Josh Allen on the sideline, because that's the best defense against that Bills team. But so it'll be interesting to see what happens. But, man, I just want the Saints to play hard and have a chance maybe to win. And because the effort was not there, they got embarrassed against the Seahawks. And, you know, it's always what have you done for me lately. And I can tell you right now, if they get waxed by the Bills, they're still going to wait and see. Then the Giants and the Patriots come to town. Maybe 2 winnable games. But if they wouldn't play good against the Giants at home, then the Boo Birds would come out. And you never want this when people start wearing a bag, you know, grocery bags over their head. And then the Saints go from being the Saints, and people from a national perspective start calling them the Aints. So, no, it's not too good right now in this day and age in the Who Dat Nation for sure. Yeah,
a couple more, Bobby, we have for you. I'm just kind of curious. Hopefully, I want to get to a Saints game. I want to experience the Who Dat Nation at some point and just enjoy a nice long weekend in New Orleans. If I had my choice, I want to go to a Saints-Falcons game. I want to experience what that rivalry is all about. You switched sides. What was that like going from the Saints to the Falcons, kind of turning heel there, Bobby?
Well, you end up, if you play long enough, it's hard to stay with one team. I mean, the great Joe Montana, he didn't finish with the 49ers. He went to the Chiefs. Look, Jerry Rice. I mean, when he plays with the Raiders and the Seahawks. But what ended up happening, I was 33 years of age, and, here I am. I was scuba diving in the Turks and Caicos Islands. I thought I was going to sign an extension because we went 12-4 that year in '92. When I was out of the country, Jim Finks went get Wade Wilson from the Vikings. So I said, I told my dad I was in Turks and Caicos Islands. I'm looking at headline news. Oh, the Saints just signed Wade Wilson. I said, Dad, I don't think I'm playing for the Saints. So I was either going to go with the Falcons or I was going to go up to Washington with the Redskins. And Richie Pettibone was up there. He had played at Tulane, the New Orleans connection. But the Falcons treated me so good. But the problem with that, it would be like, let me see, what would be a rival? It'd be like, okay, up in your part, if like I started out at Penn State and I transferred to Pitt or vice versa. No, it's like a college-type rivalry, like Auburn to Alabama. But I just looked at myself like a mercenary and a hired gun, and I still wanted to play. And ultimately, the first year I went to the Falcons, I was able to go to the Pro Bowl and stuff. So I wasn't washed up. But, yeah, to go from the Saints and Falcons, I mean, it was like the wayward son running away from home. And, they welcomed me back a few years later, doing the radio and all that. That wasn't good. They were talking about my mom and my grandma and all, and I was coming through that tunnel. They were dog cussing me. And all that did was just motivate me. And the bottom line is that when I was with the Saints, we beat the Falcons. When I was with the Falcons, we beat the Saints. So I think I had something to do with it.
Bobby, you brought up the Pelicans, earlier here, and we just have to ask you because there was Zion Williamson yesterday, the media day, whenever it was this week, and he looks in shape and he's saying all the right stuff. Are you giving him one last shot here? What is the relationship right now between the fan base and Zion, and could this actually still work?
Well, they got Joe Dumars running the team. He won a championship with the Pistons as a player and the general manager. He's from Louisiana. He's actually from Natchitoches, Northwestern State University, Louisiana, the oldest town in the Louisiana Purchase. I always brag on that. It's 4 years older than New Orleans. When you talk about old school, way older than the United States and stuff. So they trust Joe Dumars. So they're going to give Zion one more opportunity. And they don't even care if he's in shape. Right now, they just like, he's been stealing money all these years. He needs to do something. They wouldn't even care if he's fat, as long as he's available and can play, and not always dealing with some type of injury. So, yeah, this is his last hurrah. But I don't know, the Western Conference is so competitive. So right now I think they're just hoping that the Pelicans, if they could get, to the playoffs and kind of that. But I'll have to wait and see. I think they're all taking a wait-and-see approach. And, you got to have luck with injuries, whether it's football, basketball, whatever. But with Zion, they kind of taking the wait-and-see approach. But he looks good, and when he's playing, he's played at a very high level, but you got to be available. He's always dealing with something. Like I said, I don't think they care if he was fat or if he looks like they don't want him to look like Tarzan and play like Jane. So they're going to have high expectations for him to do something for the Pelicans. And, this is kind of the last ride with him. And I think if nothing happens, they'll go in a different direction.
Bobby Hebert, WWL host. And for folks who want more of Bobby, that's 5 o'clock our time here on the East Coast. Your show, Bobby, free inside the Odyssey app. So tell our audience a little bit about your show if we want to, go behind enemy lines here and, get some Saints talk leading up to this game this week.
Yeah, the most popular show, this goes back to the late, great Buddy Diliberto, is the afternoon show. I guess people were partying late at night, so they would kind of start their work day, later rather than sooner. So it was always the drive home show. But now, with the social media and all that, everybody wants instant news. So that's where it all came about. So it's like the drive home show from 4 to 8. Now, I just turned 65, so I waited to get my NFL pension. So I'm basically doing some part of that show. We do quarterback to quarterback with Drew Brees every Wednesday at 4:30 Central. That's very entertaining. But I'm primarily focused on the pre and the post game right now. But what I've been really excited about, you always want your offspring to do well, is my son T-Bob, who played at LSU. He's with the St. Louis Rams back in 2012. I went to camp with him. Well, he got hired by Barstool Sports. Now he had to move to Chicago. So he's now on FS1 hosting that morning show, that wake-up show they do. And it's on it'll probably be on, I want to say, Eastern time, 8 to 10. And they replay the same show 10 to 12 leading into Colin Cowherd. So I'm really proud of him. And he has a lot more wisdom than me. But I have a lot more comments from the football field than he did.
Bobby, this has been a real thrill for our audience today. A real thrill for me. Thank you so much for your time. Enjoy the game this Sunday, and we'll check out your show later this afternoon here.
I don't know about enjoying the game, but right now, there's no moral victories in the NFL. But right now, we would just look, the Saints were hanging with the Bills. Maybe we can be a little optimistic for the future. It's just at the NFL level, the fans have no patience when you get waxed. If they win by 4 touchdowns, something like that, they go, no, we don't even belong in the NFL. No, they will be frustrated. So hopefully the Saints can at least try and stay on the field with the Bills.
If they make it entertaining, right, and it's going to be a big party here, by the way, because it's really the last nice weather 1 o'clock Sunday afternoon game here in Western New York in the old stadium. So this is a really hot ticket. So that crowd's going to be all amped up here. Hard for me, the Bills coming out with a letdown in front of that crowd here, Bobby.
No, they're going to respond to the crowd. And the one thing New Orleans does have going for it, I think, is the number one city to host a Super Bowl. We had Chamber of Commerce weather. Now, the game wasn't too good. The Eagles waxed the Chiefs. But I tell you what, there's no better place. Everything's in walking distance to have the Super Bowl at the Superdome in New Orleans. And hopefully that's always part of the NFL plan. Because I think long-term the NFL wants the Saints to be in New Orleans. Kind of a directional team, very similar. It used to be the Boston Patriots, became the New England Patriots, more regionalized. Mm-hmm. Well, it's kind of like the Gulf Coast, Gulf South Saints, because even the Florida Panhandle, you go like Panama City, Pensacola and all that, Mobile, Alabama, Jackson, Mississippi, all the way to the Texas border. This is enough people, you have a few million people there, because you really don't have a team from Atlanta to Houston. You go further north to Nashville, but you got the Cowgirls in Dallas. We like to give them the business. They haven't won anything in forever. But, this is a team, I think, that needs to be in New Orleans in this region, Gulf Coast, Gulf South, because I think it's good for the NFL.
It's great for the NFL. It's great to have teams like Buffalo, the Bills in Buffalo, the Saints in New Orleans. Bobby, thanks for your time today. Really appreciate it.
All right, talk to y'all later.
All right,
Go Saints.
Bobby A. Bear, that is a Cajun man through and through, Tim.
Yeah, I mean, you can see why he had a successful NFL career and then transitioned that into a radio career. That was good stuff.
That was just great stuff. You could listen to this.
And he sold me on New Orleans, too. Like, I was able to cross Vegas off not too long ago, but now New Orleans is on my bucket list.
Who doesn't like New Orleans?
I've never been. I got to go find it.
And the thing is, who set us up with that interview? Well, thank you to the program director in New Orleans, but look, we got to be honest with our audience at all times. Why isn't Danger here? Because our company has him doing other things, and he's managing stations in New Orleans, which even this day and age with Zoom, you got to go down once in a while. So that's a legendary station, WWL. That's the station, Tim. If you ever watched any of the documentaries, it's the turning point. Wrong phrase. Sorry. It's a moment there in the whole Katrina storyline where the mayor gets on the radio and just loses his mind.
I watched that.
Yeah, that was WWL. It wasn't Bobby's show. It was like, it's a news talk station down there that does some sports stuff. So legendary station, and that is a legendary man. Invite your feedback on that. 866-4FAN, 888-267-1026. You're in the sports bar. We'll talk some fantasy next hour with Andy Behrens. We'll talk a little Bills here, too. We'll get you caught up here. My name is Gene Battaglia with Tim Schneider here on The Fan.
WNBF Rochester, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester. An Odyssey sports station. The Fan, Rochester. Sports update.
AJ Epineza back at practice today, although still listed as limited. In fact, the injury report is out. It's the same exact injury report as yesterday. Spencer Brown, Matt Milano, Ed Oliver, all not practicing. Taron Johnson talking about the Saints.
It'd be huge. You know what I'm saying? I feel like we start fast. I mean, we got a quarterback like Josh. You know what I'm saying? We could really do some damage. So at the end of the day, we do want to start faster and make some huge plays in the beginning of the game.
Bills and Saints, our coverage will begin at 9 o'clock this Sunday here on The Fan Rochester. We'll talk some fantasy later this hour. Andy Behrens from the Deep Shot will join us. Sabres preseason game number 3 tonight in Detroit. Baseball, the Reds have gone up 2-0 on Pittsburgh. They're in the 8th, a win for Cincinnati, and that'll cut the Mets' lead in the wild card down to a half game. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester. A special hello to all our viewers watching on YouTube and on Twitch. Gene Battaglia with you today. Tim Schneider running the board there. And Tim, that was some energy there from Bobby A. Bear there.
He made me get excited for Saints football, which is damn near impossible to be excited for in this day and age. They don't have anything to look forward to, and he was pretty open and honest, saying he doesn't expect them to win, but here's how they might be able to, and that was compelling.
Yeah,
he left it all out there.
And that's a city I definitely want to get to at some point if I can somehow work in a Saints game there.
Oh, you sold me on New Orleans too.
Yeah, New Orleans. That would be a lot. I don't need to be there for Mardi Gras. I don't need to be there for anything like that. But just going down, having some good food, and being in a different part of the country sounds like a lot of fun. I love traveling here. He did bring up one game though. That was 2017. That's the low point. Can we agree that's the low point for Sean McDermott? You could say that the low point maybe came week 2 in Josh Allen's first start. Nothing to do with Allen. The Bills lose to the Chargers at home. There's no shame in that. But when you get an athlete, one of your players, you sign as a free agent, as a key acquisition, quitting at halftime. That's not a retirement. I quit. Just walked out. And I feel bad for bringing this up because Vontae Davis is no longer with us, sadly. But that's a low point, too. But that game, he's right. Ingram and Kamara running freely, unabated. Drew Brees didn't have to do anything other than hand the ball off that day. Tyrod was terrible that day. And there's another thing I remember from that game. I'm going to put Tim on the spot. If you're listening right now, do you remember what else happened that afternoon? Tim Schneider, go.
This is a masterstroke by...
Oh, no. What else happened that game? That came later.
I don't remember then.
Streaker.
Oh. Well, yeah, you mentioned that in the previous in the interview. Yeah,
the streaker. Now, what happened? What happened afterward? This was either Monday or Tuesday. This was born after the Saint game.
This is a masterstroke by McDermott.
Anything more than what Tyrod did last week, I would consider thriving for a Buffalo Bills quarterback.
Then that should be Peterman's stats after the first quarter.
Peterman is going to make mistakes. He might not make it out of the first half.
I have been waiting since week 1, and I think that Peterman, from everything we've seen in preseason and in the little bit in New Orleans, I think he's the man.
No, I'm warning you.
Watch, Gene.
You're crazy. Why can't it be us? Dude, you're going to be so disappointed.
I'm not. There is no way I'm going to be disappointed Monday.
You think about that. 5 interceptions in the first half. And from that, it was just like we had to listen back to that and like, oh my gosh, that was worse than we thought. Like, people really thought Nathan Peterman, that's the cautionary tale. Like, hey, our quarterback's bad. Let's get the next guy up. Maybe he could be even worse. Tyrod was bad in that Saint game. And then Peterman comes in, and then the score is something like 47-10. I don't even remember at that point. And Peterman leads a touchdown drive, and it's so strange because nobody's there, and the flag guys come up, and they're waving, and they're playing the shout sound. I'm like, this is bizarre world. What are we doing here? It really was a low point in Bills history. I'm thinking and then they got blown out by the Chargers in a soccer stadium.
The Bills led that game 3-0 and found themselves down 47-3 late in the fourth quarter before that touchdown.
Oh, wow, 47-3. I'm sorry. I gave them too much credit. It was 47-10 was the final. Wow.
Yeah, that Peterman touchdown was to Nick O'Leary.
Wow.
So, the glory days of Buffalo Bills football.
Nick O'Leary, the nephew? Grandson, thank you, of the Golden Bear. Comes fleeting. Well, Tim, fleeting for somebody like Nick O'Leary, like, oh, yeah, that guy. Not fleeting if you're a quarterback, because let's fast forward. Tyrod's still in this league.
As a potential starter this very week.
Nathan Peterman actually got a tryout this year from the Jets, too.
I can't believe that. That's unfathomable.
That is like that guy 8 years later was still in an NFL facility. Still. This is pre-Josh Allen. Wow, 8 years ago, the Saints game, like, we could all say, like, what was the worst Bills game you ever went to? That one's hard to top for various reasons. Maybe the streaker at the end, you're like, look at this guy running across the field, and, social media was of course, a thing then 8 years ago, and that came across my feed. Wonder if that guy, see, these are the types of journalistic things we need, Tim. Did that guy ever find another job? Whoever that streak is, he had to go and had to pay the fine, and it became like a follow-up story. Like, that guy was actually charged with a crime, as he should be. Can't be running around naked in public. So, how does that work with, okay, tell us about your experience, Mr. Jones. Yes. And then you Google him, like, oh, this is you.
You got your 30 seconds of fame, and now you have to defend yourself for the rest of your life.
Who would have it tougher finding a job? The streaker or the guy who slid down the railing and fell out of the upper deck in Buffalo? That's a few years earlier.
I'm going to go with the streaker because that's a crime. Just being drunk in public is embarrassing. Doing a crime while probably drunk is a little worse.
You're not harming anybody being a streaker. Like, that guy could have killed somebody falling out of the upper deck. Just carelessness, being that blackout drunk.
Yeah, I mean, if that had occurred, if that's how it played out, then that would be much harder to overcome. Mm-hmm. But getting arrested at a game in which, if you're an adult, too, not just some, people do dumb things as kids or things that they regret, but a grown man being arrested for something just to get a laugh out of your buddies or whatever the reason may have been, that's something that you live with for the rest of forever.
I got to look up that 2017 season because I know what's around the corner in December for the Bills. I know how they turned it around, but what is in between? You have that 47-10 loss. That's horrible.
Followed up by the Nathan Peterman first half gem.
Peterman game. And then these are games, Tim, that I swear I don't remember. Jets come in and they beat the Bills. Bills beat the Lions 14-13. Now, the Lions back then, they were up and down, so I couldn't tell you, if that was a good thing or a bad thing. Oh, no, I'm looking at the entire wrong year. My apologies. Wrong year, everyone.
They lost 3 in a row, the Saints being the middle of that.
Yeah, the Saints.
Then they got smoked by the Chargers, in which I think Peterman, that was the 5 INT
Oh, okay.
half.
And then the Bills win an ugly game in Kansas City. Isn't that ironic? It took a win over the Chiefs, and this is This is Alex Smith. Mahomes is on the team. He's not playing that.
Yeah, that was his redshirt year.
Yeah, it was his redshirt year. So the Bills go in and win that game 16-10. Bills, okay, now I remember this. Bills come home, lose to the Patriots 23-3. And the thing I remember about that game is, okay, the Bills are feisty. They're playing hard defensively. And Rob Gronkowski goes Jimmy Superfly Snuka after the play on Tre'Davious White. What did Trey White do to get under the skin of Rob Gronkowski? Gronk he gets suspended a game by the league for that. It should have been more. And to me, earning points right away was Sean McDermott going up at the post-game handshake, going up to shake Belichick's hand, and I'm not going to let you go. I'm going to tell you that was BS. Can't say that word. And Bill has to agree that what are we doing? We're trying to herd play defenseless players as Gronk did. That's absolutely ridiculous. The following game then, 13-7 is the final score, but you don't remember it for the final score. You remember the fact that it's the Bills beating the Colts in the snow game. And that's where it starts. The Bills beat the Dolphins. The Bills beat they lose to the Patriots and Tom Brady, but then they win down on New Year's Eve in Miami and somehow get in with a 9-7 record. That Colt game, the snow game in 2017, which was only it was only 4 weeks after the Saints game. That was the last time the Bills won a game in overtime. Is that weird?
I would not have known that. That is a long time ago. That is a less than stellar victory.
No, it's right. There's been other, the Houston playoff game being the most notable. Of course, well, you could say the most notable being 13 seconds, I suppose, now that I think this through. There's been some other ones.
That did occur,
too. Yeah. Correct myself on the fly here. Coming up at the bottom hour, we've got Andy Behrens from Yahoo Fantasy as okay, so the Pirates just scored. It's now going it is in the 8th, 2-1. Cincinnati leading Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh did it solids for the Mets here last 2 games. If the Reds get swept by the Pirates, that should just be it. The commissioner just say, nope, you are not worthy of a playoff spot. It's Arizona is the team I'm looking at, but Arizona is actually trailing the Dodgers 4-0. They're in the 3rd. So let's go LA. This is a weird time of year where you're doing a lot of scoreboard watching. Houston is up 5-0 on the Athletics. Houston is the team that, okay, if they're out, doesn't surprise me. If they get in and somehow beat whoever they get in the first round, Cleveland, and somehow they end up in the ALCS, that wouldn't surprise me either. Yeah,
going in, the baseball, as we are learning in real time, it's a weird sport. You can be the 3 seed and you get to host those 3 games. That's awesome, and it is an advantage. But any team can beat any team in baseball outside of the Colorado Rockies and perhaps the Chicago White Sox. 2 out of 3 games in a series, anything is possible. Being at home helps, but if you're Cleveland or whoever the 3 seed ends up being, you're weary of what could happen no matter who that 6 seed is.
Gosh, this is going to make baseball writer very upset.
Uh-oh. We don't like an upset baseball writer.
But the MVP race in the American League is fascinating, is it not? And you know what it reminds me of, actually? Let me think. Reminds me of Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. Because if Lamar Jackson had won last year, and you look at the stats, he's a worthy MVP candidate any other year. You go back 2 years, Josh Allen, you look at the stats. Lamar won. He's a worthy candidate. Aaron Judge, Cal Raleigh, whoever doesn't win, you're going to have a group of writers, you're going to have fans, you're going to have and if it ends up being Raleigh winning it, Yankee fans zip it. That is not disparaging against Aaron Judge. You can point to a lot of things with Aaron Judge. 326 batting average.
Leads baseball.
451 on base.
Leads baseball.
These are things, okay, that's MVP worthy. It is. Cal Raleigh? 2 more homers last night. He's up to 60. He's a catcher.
because of the Mariners and the success that they're having late and the fact that they're going to get a bye, Raleigh gets my vote. Playing the position he plays, the offensive output that he's had, and leading a pitching staff that is good with Gilbert and Wu, and they've got some solid players on that team. But without Raleigh being there and what he's done, Raleigh gets my vote. However, there is obviously an argument to be had for Aaron Judge.
I think Judge is now up to 51 too.
He's having an unreal, like his numbers are MVP worthy. I don't think anybody's disputing that.
Well, are we voting on what's the criteria? Is it numbers or intrinsic? Now, see, even you could say, all right, most valuable if you took this player off this team. I'll give you an example. There was an outfielder in the 80s named Andre Dawson, really great outfielder, played for the Cubs, won the MVP. Cubs finished in last place. Okay, so to me, there wasn't really any other candidates. Okay, you get the MVP. It shouldn't be the way. Now, intrinsic, these are two teams that are winning, and if you took Judge off the Yankees roster, I don't think they're a playoff team. And I think the same could be said for Cal Raleigh. I think Seattle's offense, if you took the lineups head-to-head, Tim, I would actually take top-to-bottom Seattle's over the Yankees. I'm sorry, the Yankees have done a lot of this with Trent Grisham. You're shaking your head.
I'm not sure I could go that far. The Mariners have some good players, and they bought them at the deadline, and good for them, and it worked out. But the Yankees, top to bottom, probably the best in the AL. That said, the Blue Jays have had an unreal year, and they're doing it without their MVP. Bo Bichette's their MVP, I would say. Maybe George Springer, but Bo Bichette hasn't played, and they're still...
Okay, back to the Judge versus Raleigh conversation. Yeah. That's, honestly, I'm going to just... It's sports talk. It's a penalty against a sports talk host to give you a take like this. They're both worthy. Like both of these guys, any other year, they're the MVP. And if Raleigh wins, Yankee fans are going to lose their mind. If Judge wins, hey, we get ignored out here. Ultimately, like whoever wins the World Series, or can either of these guys lead their team? Now, I can't split my vote. Ultimately, who am I voting for? I don't know, 326 batting average, 450 on base. That's crazy. And you did this without Soto. Yeah, I love how Yankee fans are quick to dump on Soto, by the way.
Soto's having a career year, and it might go to the wayside based on what the Mets are
Soto's having a great year. If you go by WAR, it's a fun little exercise, folks. WAR, Aaron Judge first, Cal Raleigh second. Okay. Wins above replacement. Who's third on the list? Shohei. Who's fourth? Juan Soto. But for whatever reason, he's not held in the regard of the stars of the game today, and I see it in my feed. Anytime Juan Soto misplays a ball, Yankee fans cackle with glee.
43 home runs, he's got 30 steals, and he's not even in the conversation. And part of that is the Shohei Ohtani problem. But it's a fun exercise on the American League side because there's two worthy combatants there. Judge probably gets it overall, but I'm voting Raleigh because of the position he plays.
Kevin writing in, go Pirates, go LA. Well, Kevin, it just went final. Cincinnati defeating the Pirates 2-1, so now it's a half game. If the Mets lose tonight, they're even. However, not really even because the Reds have the tiebreaker on the Mets. So Mets have to win this tonight. Dodgers are up 4-0 on Arizona. That is in the bottom of the third. We've also got a Thursday night game here to talk about. We've got Seahawks and Cardinals. Andy Behrens, he is with the Deep Shot, and he'll be joining us next here. This is 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester. Bill's back at work today. Injury report, same exact as yesterday. Spencer Brown, Matt Milano, Ed Oliver, all not practicing. AJ Epineza practicing today on a limited basis. Josh Allen saying nice things here about the Saints' defense.
The challenge is, again, they're going to have their ears pinned back. They want to win as badly as anybody in the league right now. And, again, there's no easy games in this league. They're going to come out. They're going to have their best shot, and we got to figure out how to stop that and adjust accordingly during the game.
Bills and Saints, our coverage will begin at 9 a.m. Sunday here on the Fan Rochester. Sabres preseason game number 3 tonight is taking place in Detroit. The baseball playoff race, the Reds get a win today over the Pirates. They hang on 2-1. They're now a half game back of the Mets for the final wild card. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, the Fan Rochester.
Pull up a stool and join us. 585-866-4FAN. 866-432-6. The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Just overemphasize everything. Like if it's like whether it's doing a little extra cardio this week or just knowing the call a little bit better, because you're not going to really have that time to really sit there and think like, all right, this is the call. Like they're going fast. They're doing weird stuff with the offense. They're going XL and going unbalanced, and they're putting tackles at receiver. Like they're doing all this stuff. So I mean, they throw a lot at you, so you gotta be prepared.
Greg, every week you feel you're either playing a mobile guy or a guy who gets rid of the ball quick. Yeah. Can that get a little frustrating, especially in your spot?
Yeah, it can be frustrating if you let it, but it's something you gotta just embrace because it is like, obviously you want to play like a statue who sits back there, but like, it's just not the league anymore. That's not how it is. Every year it gets a little further away from that. There's only a couple of those guys left, I feel like. So I mean, it's something we gotta get used to. We gotta get used to finishing and being better. Me personally, being better when you're playing against those quarterbacks and you're trying to rush with integrity, but just knowing you still gotta rush.
Tim, who is that?
That was Greg Rousseau.
Right.
And we kind of poo-pooed it all week about the no huddle and the Saints and if they want to give the ball back to Josh Allen, but it sounds like they're taking it seriously.
Well, they have to. It's something like, hey, here's something new. And that works to the Saints' detriment because now, okay, you're looking at this, yawn. That's how you get caught. This forces everybody to pay attention in class. When you see a system like this, I'm a little surprised it's kind of implemented. We're, as they say in the business, efforting for Andy Behrens from the deep shot. As we do have a Thursday night game here. So, ask Andy this question, Seattle, Arizona. Now, me personally, I'm watching baseball tonight, but I'm paying attention to this, and maybe you have a piece of the Seahawks, specifically Jackson Smith and Jigba. He's fantastic. You see why they let DK Metcalf kind of walk there. 2-2-1 teams. If Arizona wins this game and is leading the division at 3-1, we're not taking it seriously, right? We're just saying, nah, it's early here. This is not a real playoff team. Maybe even for that matter for Seattle, because Seattle, we kind of sort of think they have a good defense, but you really trust in Sam Darnold? I mean, it's an interesting matchup tonight for sure.
Yeah, either of those teams are all right and could make the playoffs, but if I'm looking at the grand scope of the playoffs and the ultimate goal, I don't consider either a legitimate Super Bowl contender. For fantasy purposes, these teams have some compelling pieces. You've got the aforementioned JSN. Charbonnet went down, so that means Walker's a workhorse. James Conner is hurt, so Trey Benson now in the fold there. But on the East Coast, this game, for me, it's baseball season. I'll watch it. I'll pay attention to it. I'll monitor my fantasy teams, but I don't know if I'm fully invested in this Thursday's game just because it's two teams in the NFC West.
Well, yeah, it's right. So it's something tonight that it's on the menu, but it's one of those NFL games that all right, I can do other things here too. Our phone number 585-866-4FAN 866-4326. By this time tomorrow, Tim, we're gonna have some Ryder Cup to talk about, and I had this, and I feel like I always got to confess that maybe because it's the time of year. Maybe because I'm just lazy and I don't want to learn about the scoring format. Maybe I'm just not buying the hype. Some people are in the Ryder Cup. They're really into it. That's great. I actually went to a years ago, 30 years ago now, Tim, 1995. And let me tell you, back in 1995, it was really a big return there by Europe at Oak Hill Country Club. this year it's a Bethpage Black. I was just wondering, like, why don't they do this every year if you're the Ryder Cup? Tickets for this, $750. That's not on the resale market. That's face.
That prices me out.
Price, yeah. And then having some fun, like Airbnbs around Long Island, $30,000 a night. Some of them are going for like, oh wow, yeah. I guess, if you work in finance or you have one of those, it's not even a 6-figure income. It's like
7, maybe 8.
Yeah, like that's what you're doing, I guess. So, I guess that's what you would spend it on. I'm just a little floored that's $750.
I'll turn it on when it comes on TV. I can't afford that. Like, I would go if given the opportunity and it costs nothing. Absolutely. Hell yeah.
Well, there's one thing that's different, and this is something for 2035. And I noticed this when we went to Oak Hill for the PGA, that, okay, when it came to the concessions, like maybe you're just spoiled going to Wings games or whatever. You didn't have this like wide array. You would just go, okay, and I don't, forgive me, I don't even remember who it was. Was it Bud? Was it the other guys? I don't even remember, but they had their deal, and here are the products, and the products are going to be the same pretty much at every tent, which that doesn't bother me. I'm not getting into the VIP tents. I'm just kind of going around walking the course. Here's what's different about the Ryder Cup, Tim. That $750 includes your food and drink. Okay, that's
changes a little bit.
That changes a little bit. But what's the max you would spend? Like $100?
If I'm there for one day, if it's $750 for the day pass and it covers everything, I think I become an absolute glutton and make sure that I get my money's worth.
Well, I think that this is what's going to happen now. This is what I'm saying. And they're saying they're going to check this because who runs the Ryder Cup? It's the PGA of America. So the PGA Championship
in the same spot.
Bethpage Black, yeah, in 2033. Will they do this at Oak Hill? Would people be up in arms like, oh my gosh, why is my ticket so expensive? Hey, you get food and drink. I mean, when the tickets go on sale for 2035, I know you're buying them. I know I'll buy them. I'll get a media pass, but there are friends and family that will want, to go. Heck, I might entertain people from out of town. It's our one time to show off Rochester. But just thinking back in my mind, is this going to be the first sport that's going to say, hey, you like every ticket is like going into a luxury suite?
Yeah, if it's going to be that way, golf is probably the one to test it out just because of the general clientele that they have to begin with. Like, it's not a rich person's game, but it's a rich person's ticket. And that's something that demographic is open to, willing to do. Like, for somebody like me, yeah, that would be awesome. It's just not feasible, and I'm not incapable of just eating myself. Like, I'll eat before or after, or I'll pony up in the moment. But if you're telling me all-inclusive food and drink, that means I then have to make that part of my day as well, just to make sure that I get the value from that ticket.
So Peter writing in, I'm trying to follow this along. This goes back to our AL MVP. I don't even want to talk about a debate. What's there to debate? These are two great players. Like, you want to argue blue in the face for one guy over the other, somebody's going to lose. What can I tell you?
Yeah, it's not a debate. It's just where's your vote going?
Where's your vote going? Yeah, like, hey, one guy's great, the other guy's great. Somebody's going to lose. Sorry. That's kind of the way I look at it. Peter Redding, are you ready for this? Matt Rowley played for the Binghamton Mets. Matt is Cal's uncle who coaches baseball in Broome County. This Yankees fan is okay with Cal as the MVP. All right, Peter. I didn't know there was a Binghamton isn't local, right? We don't claim upstate New York. Right?
That's where he's from.
That's where he's from. Right. So if you're from the area, we're super provincial here. If it was anybody from, like, say, it was Ernie Clement. Who, Tim? He's the defensive war leader in baseball. Did you know that?
Yeah, but because he plays all the positions, he's not eligible at any Gold Glove spot.
Jeez, come on.
He's going to win the utility Gold Glove, which I was not aware was a thing until
hands
recently.
down.
There's going to be finalists, obviously, but that's his award to lose, and it's cool, but there's no position attached to it.
So if you weren't with us back in November, and if you were and you forgot, you brought on Ernie Clement on our show. He was great. How did you become friends with him? How did that all happen?
So part of one of my other jobs is I am an authenticator for Topps/Fanatics, and he was the first one that I did, but I've interacted with baseball players. Almost all of them have debuted in Major League Baseball.
So this is different because you're not showing up as, hi, I'm a reporter. And I think when you have a reporter, automatically the guard goes up.
Yeah.
And they're, not to get all baseball writery or anything, but you can't fraternize with players. Some do. There was a guy who I worked with years ago, and he ended up covering the Giants, and he would go out for beers with Tiki Barber. I'm thinking, you can't do that. I'm sorry. That's if it's at a charity event, that's one thing, but just kind of like becoming friends and going, that's a little weird. But I digress. I guess that's my new catchphrase. I digress.
Yeah. So
but for you, they view you as, hey, here's my guy that's going to give me money for signing things.
Right.
Basically.
I'm just a guy who stands there to make sure that they're the one putting their name on their face and they're not dishing it off to a family member or some stranger or some clubhouse attendant, which is a thing. People do that.
Well,
did that.
That's good to know that, hey, I'm going to buy this collectible, and there's somebody who actually did, watch with an eagle eye.
Yeah, so I sit there and we, for lack of a better word, we hit it off. We interacted. We actually bumped into each other out on the town, and I mentioned what my other job was and said, hey, if we're ever in need or you're ever available, is it something you'd be willing to do? And he was all about it. I know that he does a lot of stuff for the news stations too. Like he loves the community, he loves the area, and he gives back when he's got the ability to do so.
Yeah, fantastic hockey player, Ernie Clement, and he chose the baseball route. And his mom, he lives with his grandma in Fairport, correct? That was kind of when he comes back to town. That's who he stays with, I should say.
Yeah. Well, he's a family man for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what his living arrangements are during the off season, but he was around a couple of off seasons ago, and bumped into him out in Fairport, and we had him on, and my father and I actually went out to the Blue Jays series when they were in Cleveland a year ago, and we got to see a Shaq concert there, so that was fun.
Like
Shaq played a post. Shaquille O'Neal DJ'd a post-game concert at Progressive.
Forgot about that.
Fun weekend.
Was it any good?
It was funny to me. I don't know if it was actually good or bad, but it was funny just because Shaq to me is big, meaty basketball player, but he was compelling, and the Guardians loved it. They were out there on the stage yucking it up.
I see. That's like if you're out of the club and here comes Shaq. That's fantastic. But here's a baseball game and the audience is leaving, and it just doesn't seem like it's the right setting for something.
It was definitely unique. Again, I don't know if it was good or bad, but entertaining for sure.
I'm not sure what happened to Andy Barron, so my apologies to everybody who was tuning in to hear Andy. Hopefully everything is okay.
Try again tomorrow, maybe.
Maybe. Tomorrow, I can't tell you. I'm sorry, I can't.
You can't even tell me.
Now, this goes back to the PGA announcement where the guy I'm looking at right here, Schneider, actually knew that this was happening. Mike Catalana, 13 Wham, had the story. He broke it that the PGA was coming back to Rochester, PGA Championship in 2035. Tim shows up the next day and like, yeah, I knew about that, but a guy that you were really close with, you can't violate friendship, you can't violate the guy code. I'm going to tell you something, but you can't tell anybody. I'm like, wow, you are a trustworthy friend, Tim, because I see the 6 degrees of separation, I would think, because your source, I'm like, okay, that's a reliable source, and we would have run with it. If you had told me, I'd be like, we're running with it, and you didn't. So you know what? Tim Schneider, good friend.
I've got some quality traits to me despite the terribleness that surrounds me. I was aware of it about an hour, maybe 2 hours before the Dan Fates and Mike Catalana broke it on Twitter. And part of me wanted to go and run with it and have my name in the lights for 24 hours. Yeah. But I also knew that if I did that, there would be a lot of backlash.
Yeah, there's no that your 15 minutes of fame doesn't. It's not worth killing a friendship.
Correct. Not this one, at least.
No.
Some friends are salvageable.
But then why did your friend tell you that? Why did he put you in that position?
Because he knew that I would.
He knew that you would.
When you're a steel trap, you're a steel trap. You're told to keep quiet. You keep quiet unless it's something, obviously, that just can't be held.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of interesting how that all came about. Now, this is a little bit, I don't want to say to a lesser degree. It's going to be different, okay, along those lines. I'm a steel trap this time.
Yeah, I've been poking and prodding.
I can't tell you, okay? And the reason's a little different here. Well, it's similar in a way, but this is not my story to tell, okay? This is not my thing to report. There's going to be news in Rochester tomorrow. That's all I can tell you. It's sports related. And
the long tease.
Yeah, it's a long tease, and I think your reaction is going to be like, oh. I think that will be your reaction and kind of nodding. Like the reaction when PGA Championship, yes, I think that was kind of a reaction like, okay, we're back in. This one's going to be like, oh, I think, and it's going to be, it'll feel good. Is that a good way to tease it, Tim?
I don't know. I guess we'll find out.
Oh,
but
okay.
I think that there's only so many things it could be that, like, you've got some things stuck in my head here. So I will wait patiently rather than be a doomsdayer and poke and prod and guess and be wrong, because that's too many choices for me to be wrong about. I'll just wait to be learned. It's easier that way.
It's the worst when you have something like this and you can't say anything. It's really like I'm the one who normally can't keep a secret. But again, I don't want to burn bridges or do something or end a friendship on something like this when it's not my thing to report. So
soon enough, we'll all know, and you'll get to say that you knew first.
That's it. Let's take a break. We'll reset. We'll get you caught up here on some of the things that happen in baseball. Yes, it's a Getaway Thursday, as it's our final Getaway Thursday. Crazy to think that this time next week we're talking about, okay, who won the wild card round? Like, we'll be previewing the divisional matchups. Good stuff here. Gene Battaglia with Tim Schneider today. Danger is back on Monday. This is The Fan Rochester.
You're listening to sports leader, The Fan Rochester.
Got a smart speaker at home? Listen to the sports leader, The Fan Rochester at home by asking it to play 95.7 The Fan.
So I've put this out on X, and anybody that wants to play along, or on social, on YouTube, wherever you may find us here. We're just mentioning how, okay, tomorrow there will be, on our show, we're going to talk about a sports story that's going to drop here tomorrow. I'm asking for wrong answers only. Greg writing in. The Royals are coming back to Rochester. If you write the wrong answer, I will confirm that no, the Rochester Royals are not coming back. Whereas Danger would say they never were a thing here in town. We never had a Subway. We never had the Royals. A lot of things that we never ever had here in Rochester, according to the Danger.
It's just a matter of history. So
Yeah.
it's Danger's got to be right.
Danger's
I've
gotta
never
be right.
seen it, so it never happened.
Danger's got to be right. So wrong answers only. You can follow me on X at the Fan Rochester being our handle. You can find me at Gene Battaglia. He is at Womp Fump 585-8664-FAN 866-4326. Couple notes on the lines this week here, Tim. One being, this is not a surprise that a little money came in on the Saints. The Saints are going to win this game, but 16.5, yeah, a little too much. And went down to 16, and now it's at 15.5. Can you imagine if it's right on the number at the end where the Bills are winning by 23 points or something like that, and the Saints get it, and they go for 2? That's the stuff that can happen in this game. That's why, I would go nowhere near that. As good as we feel about the Bills, not going anywhere near 16.5, 15.5, whatever it is. The other one I want to get your opinion on, this line started off Lions favored by 8. It's now Lions favored by 10 over Cleveland. Why is money coming in on Detroit to move a line 2 points here? You don't normally see that drastic when there's no injury. Is there an injury I'm not aware of here with the Browns?
No, I think Monday morning it actually began at 9.5, and then it jumped to 8.5. And I've got a friend who's deep into it in Vegas, and his theory was that it moved down to 8.5 to cover teasers where you buy the 6 points and get it to 2.5, and it gets you the field goal. And because a couple of days have passed, it's back up to the 9.5. But the theory there, I think, was to get that line, and there was one other line. I don't recall which one he paired it with, but both of those were to buy points down in a teaser parlay. And the Browns looked great against Green Bay defensively. If the Lions quarterback, Jared Goff, if he gets bottled up by the Browns, this is a one-score game. So the spread probably sticks around between 7 and 10 for the whole week. And the result is either the Lions blowing the Browns out, which is entirely possible, or the Browns maybe shocking the world again.
Green Bay favored by 6.5 in Dallas. I want to say, take the Packers, although they were just so lifeless against the Browns. Everybody crediting the Browns. I'm steering clear of that one as well. Back to the what? Okay, couple more wrong guesses here. The Jeffersons are being reborn. This is Chris writing in. Chris, no, that's not the case. It did absolutely not. That's not true. And that's a reminder. Yes, we had an NFL team here too.
They were great.
The Jeffs.
Jeffs.
I thought, Tim, when they rolled that out, because the NFL loves selling merch, we would have all sorts of Jeffs merch. Hey, come buy your Jeffs hat. I never saw anything.
Not here.
Could we form a business and sell Rochester Jefferson's merchandise? Would there be enough buyers? I don't know.
I would wear it. If you design it, I will buy it.
Okay, this is Tom writing in.
This might be a right answer.
No, I feel like I've got to shoot this one down here. Although this wouldn't shock me. The Nationals are leaving the Red Wings for Richmond, and the Wings will have a new affiliate in 2026. No, that's not it, Tom. Although somewhere in the back of my mind, are they getting a new stadium in Richmond?
I think they've been working on it since forever, but it's not up to the new AAA code, so they're stuck in AA at the moment.
Right. So,
once it gets there, though.
Yeah, so you're looking at 2030 as the earliest we'll have shuffle. All these were 10-year deals, which that's crazy for me to think.
If the Nationals really wanted to, I bet they could get out of it sooner.
What wouldn't they want? Honestly, like you've done everything. You built a new kind of workout area. Finally, that got done. Everything should be up to code.
Some team beyond the scope of the Nationals should benefit from that. We deserve better.
We deserve better. I will agree. But we were kind of left at the altar, Tim. That was okay.
For a similar reason that he's bringing up here, yeah.
Yeah, that we were kind of like, okay, which to think that we've had the Nationals and the Twins, which have no remote local connection whatsoever, while Buffalo had the Blue Jays and the Mets, and Syracuse had the Blue Jays and the Mets.
And Washington.
Columbus, Ohio had the Yankees for many years, and then they end up in Scranton. See, that's the missed opportunity right there. Like when, the Clippers wanted to get the Indians. Okay, we'll take the Yankees. Like, how much different would things be if you had a major league parent that you were so passionate about? And it seems like a joke now to bring this up because we look at the Orioles, we're like, oh, yeah, the O's. We kind of just poo-poo it. Tim, in the 70s and 80s, that was like a franchise that was the gold standard. They were winning championships. They were always relevant.
They were really good, and we had such a long history relationship with them that it became relevant. It didn't force itself, but it became relevant based on who came through and how long they were together for. And now we don't have long-standing relationships with teams that are a little bit further away.
Yeah, it's do we make decisions based on who the affiliate is? Maybe. Like you see it like when, hey, Garrett Colson night, oh my gosh, sellout crowd on a Friday night. That's fantastic. Would you get more of that if you were like the Yankees, Mets, Red Sox? I would just say this. There's only like 3 teams, right? Am I missing anybody that people would get excited about over the Nationals? The Yankees, which I don't think that Scranton is going to give them up anytime soon.
We had a year of them. That was nice.
They kind of, sort of. The Empire State Yankees, that was weird.
It was weird, but it was cool to experience.
It was definitely an experience. The Red Sox in Worcester, no, Worcester's nothing more than a suburb of Boston practically, right?
Yeah, that's not going anywhere.
No, and then the Mets own the actual AAA franchise in Syracuse.
Not anymore.
No. I missed that.
There is a name change coming soon.
Oh, that's where that's based off.
So I'm not Cohen. I don't know if Cohen got rid of or gave up, but the Mets are no longer.
No, but they still own, right?
They're still affiliated, but I don't think that they're associated.
No, Tim, I must have missed that. I don't think that the Mets actually sold. The owners are still the Mets. They're just not going to be called the Syracuse Mets anymore. They're going to come up with like Syracuse Salt Potatoes or whatever it's going to be. I got to look this one up.
Yeah, we should verify that, I suppose. But if you're looking for a new team name, the Syracuse rebrands frequently. They've had 4 names since I've been alive.
Yeah, they're still owned by Cohen Private Ventures and Diamond Baseball
That's my
Holdings.
bad then.
Yeah, the Diamond Baseball Holdings. It's just going. Yeah, so this is. Which, you're a major league team. Why are you buying the AAA team? I don't even.
Maybe they should sell, and the Mets can become available.
But that's like a big thing in Syracuse, right? Like, what are they going to call the team?
Many are wondering.
The Red Wings just always remain the Red Wings. You know, okay, you're the Plates one night, you're the Coco Locos. What other identities do we have?
Well, Binghamton became the Rumble Ponies instead of the Mets.
Yeah, that's
Coco Locos, Plates, White Hots. Running out of names there.
Yeah. Do we want Andy
Kodaks.
Barons next hour? Yeah, let's take Andy Barons next hour.
If he's available, let's bring him.
Let's do it. 585-866-4FAN, 866-4326. Gene Battaglia with you. Tim Schneider. Mike Danger is going to be back on Monday here on The Fan Rochester.
Rochester and Western New York's electric leader. This is The Fan Rochester.
The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
WROC-AM, WBEE HD2 Rochester, and streaming online and in the Odyssey app at The Fan Rochester. The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester, an Odyssey sports station.
The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
A.J. Epinesa back at practice today for the Bills. Still listed as limited, however. Still out from practice, Spencer Brown, Matt Milano, and Ed Oliver. As far as how do you go about this game, Taron Johnson says getting out first to a lead is important.
It'd be huge. You know what I'm saying? I feel like we start fast. I mean, we got a quarterback like Josh. You know what I'm saying? We could really do some damage. So at the end of the day, we do want to start faster and make some huge plays in the beginning of the game.
Bills and Saints coverage begins at 9 a.m. this Sunday here on The Fan Rochester. Sabres preseason game number 3 tonight in Detroit. Now, for the baseball playoff race, the Reds hang on. They beat the Pirates 2-1. They're a half game back of the Mets right now. Arizona not taking advantage, as right now it's the Dodgers leading 8-0. They're in the top of the 5th. Houston is up in Sacramento 7-0 heading to the 5th. Gene Battaglia, The Fan Rochester.
Start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Amherst. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
Yeah, I find myself looking at the baseball scoreboard a lot here, but I totally missed that. Like, wait a second. All of a sudden, the Dodgers are up 8-0. Okay. There's one of these teams that don't belong are going to get in.
Running a bullpen game with your season on the line against the best team in your division is certainly a choice.
It might be the only choice, though. I really don't follow Arizona Diamondback baseball that close. Of course, the Mets put themselves into this position for lots of reasons. One on the list, not taking care of things last night. Andy Behrens is with the Deep Shot talking some fantasy football. Andy, I don't even know the answer to this. Are you a baseball fan? Are you a Cubs fan being Chicago-based? Andy, thanks for your time today. How are you?
Yeah. Well, when I was supposed to jump on with you guys, I was distracted by the Cincinnati Pittsburgh game and Noelve Marte's incredible homer-saving ninth-inning catch. I'm mostly a Cubs fan. You know, fantasy has ground me down a little bit over the years. Fantasy baseball is a chore, and you become very, aligned with your fantasy teams, I would say. But I am, for the most part, a Cubs fan. When I was a kid, I loved Comiskey Park, though. That was my jam.
Like old Comiskey Park.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like Total Palace. Yeah.
Yeah. Then fun team, fun owner, way back, fun uniforms. Andy Behrens, the Deep Shot, joining us here. Andy, week 4, and this is one thing that gives me a little anxiety, like, okay, lineups, oh no, I got to face a decision here. And the decision here for anybody that, okay, Benson, this is the guy that either you had stashed just in case of emergency, maybe he was available, you picked him up from Arizona, but now you're faced with the decision. How do you do this on a short week? Your thoughts on this matchup here tonight we get, Andy, which should be a good game, Seattle, or at least I hope so, Seattle and Arizona.
Yeah, it's a really good question because Benson is also one of those guys who, in most competitive leagues, he was stashed. He wasn't a guy that you were able to pick up, right? I think he was about 60% rostered at Sleeper anyway. So you weren't planning on using him, right? And we haven't hit the bye weeks yet. You know, he was a name that you were thinking you might use later in the season or you might use when the buys rolled around. So he's not an instant start for everyone. I do think he's going to see most of the early down work. He is going to share with Amari DiMercato. We saw that last year. It wasn't, it's not like it was 90 or 95% Benson's backfield, but he has looked better this year, I think, than he did at the start of last year. So it's encouraging. He's going to play a bunch. This is a rough matchup. I mean, Seattle has been very good defensively, and they've been particularly good against the run. They're a top 10 run team. So I wouldn't I don't see this as an absolute smash spot for Benson where you have to start him, but you've definitely hit on something here, because obviously Connor now lost for the season. Really too bad, because James Conner is about as fun as it gets.
Yeah, we don't want to see that. I keep waiting for the game here where that's Daniel Jones here, and I didn't expect that to happen against the Titans. I thought it happened against Denver here. But now the Colts have this head of steam, and they're going to Los Angeles, and you would figure, okay, is this a game that could put up points? I mean, the over-under on this, Andy, 49.5. When I'm looking at that's right at the top of the list there. Are we buying in on the Indianapolis Colts offense, or was that just just some good favorable matchups here in the first part of the season?
Well, Denver was not a favorable matchup, and they looked great, and they drew up some really fun stuff. See, that's the thing. I may have said this with you guys before. I love the design of their passing game. I love how wide open they're able to scheme people. Every week, I feel like the Colts draw up something that is one of my favorite plays that I just think is an interesting design that we don't see from a lot of other teams. And, Daniel Jones is dealing with, first of all, he's not receiving the same level of pressure that he was receiving in New York, and he's dealing with it well. And this all feels pretty legit to me. But as you say, this is a really good opponent, and the Rams will come up with a game plan for you. And now there's 3 weeks of the Colts on tape and Daniel Jones, and maybe he turns back into a pumpkin against a good defense and a great head coach. But I've arrived at a point where I'm relatively comfortable having him inside the QB1s. We know he's got some rushing juice, which obviously helps the fantasy profile. And, for Vegas to already have this as a 49.5, point total, that's not just about the Rams. That's about, the sense that this can become a shootout because the Colts are legit.
I always love trying to pick on the bad defense. Are we ready to declare? And I say this knowing that you're a Chicago Bear fan, and so is Danger too. And I want you guys to be happy. I want you guys to enjoy that. That's what looks. Well, there's a flea flicker. Wow, that's Chicago doing great things. Or maybe that's just a Kyrie Williams back there. We know him from Buffalo. Like that shouldn't be Dallas and getting allowing Russell Wilson to throw for 400. Andy, Dallas hosting Green Bay, and Micah Parsons will be the national storyline. But just from fantasy purposes, how deep are you going in terms of playing Packers in this matchup against what we think is a really shoddy defense?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I am going all the way down to Matthew Golden. I am starting Matthew Golden in a couple of different places. I can give you a very specific answer on that. We think that Romeo Doubs, Tucker Kraft, Golden, obviously Dontavian Wicks are all part of that receiving mix. I thought Golden kind of flashed a little bit last week in a more difficult matchup, and he's just got a great spot here against Dallas. There's no question about it. Also, it can be two things can be true, right? Dallas can be terrible defensively, and also we should be allowed to feel great about the Bears because we actually crushed a favorable matchup, which, is not a given for Caleb Williams in his limited history.
Yeah, I mean, that you don't get to see real quarterbacking in Chicago. So, enjoy this. Bears in Vegas. We got a rookie starting this week, and this was a big storyline in New York. Should he have gone in? I would have liked to seen Jackson Dart at least get his feet wet. And there's trepidation, right, from a fantasy standpoint. Like, say you own Neighbors, how's it going to? I mean, I would imagine that where you drafted Neighbors, that would be a hard guy to bench. Andy, tell me my eyes aren't deceiving me. I kind of like what I'm seeing out of Cam Scattaboo. As our RB2, I'm going to try him out in one league this week. Your thoughts on what does this Giants offense look like when we have all this unknown going into this matchup against the Chargers?
Yeah, I do want to say there's no way that they planned on rolling out Jackson Dart for the first time against the Chargers. This doesn't seem ideal to me. It is at home. That's relatively friendly. But man, this is a really good Chargers team and a good Chargers defense for as much as attention has been paid to the passing game and the offense. So it's probably not where they had hoped to roll him out. But my goodness, he looked good in the preseason. And I was actually, I was pretty down on him coming into the draft process. This is just another Lane Kiffin quarterback. These things never work out. I didn't like this guy when his name was Matt Corral and so on, right? And then he just had a nearly flawless preseason. And, it's just preseason and nobody's game planning for you. And you're not seeing, every team's varsity defense. But man, he put the ball on receivers all the time. Even his incompletions, he was hitting Jalen Hyatt in the hands. So I was really impressed by him. We know there's a rushing component to his game, so I think it's going to be pretty fantasy friendly. There's no question we're not rolling him out in one quarterback fantasy leagues against the Chargers in his debut, but he is someone that we need to watch because he flashed a lot of talent throughout the summer. As to Cam Scatabo, he's been almost exactly as advertised in what you saw at the college level too, right down to and stylistically, I just love guys like this. It's not healthy, and he's one of these guys that's like he's here for a good time, not here for a long time, right? Because of the playing style. You can see the moment too at the end of every run where he's, sometimes he's thinking, oh, a normal running back would step out of bounds here. I can just end this play, but he picks out a guy to dip his head and, just ram into. And that's, long term, that's not a great style, but it's really pretty fun. And he's been good so far. No Tyrone Tracy this week. So we're going to see a little bit of Devin Singletary. He doesn't go away, but we'll see plenty of Scatabo as well.
Yeah. I want to ask you about a team that is not good. Some would argue they're one of the worst teams in the league, if not the worst. Why would I even mention them?
About the Bears. Don't you say Bears.
No, I'm not going to say no, the Bears. No, I wouldn't do that, Andy. You would hang up on me. Buffalo is not going to lose this game to New Orleans. Yeah. It's 1 o'clock. It's going to be a big party. It's the last 1 o'clock game in Highmark in nice weather. The tickets for this are very hard to come by in the secondary market. So, Andy, the question is about the Saints. We know they have pieces. When you're looking at a matchup like this, do we factor in garbage time points? Could you see this game going this way? Because I look at what the Bills didn't do defensively against Miami, and I don't think you fix everything. And granted, that was a divisional opponent, short week, blah, 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 blah. But I don't think Buffalo is going to be so buttoned up that the Saints offense comes away with nothing. How do you manage like your Olaves and your Kamaras and everybody else in that Saints offense when you know they probably aren't going to win this game in Buffalo?
I love this question because it gets to, something that trips up fantasy managers a lot, which is this idea that, I know exactly how this game is going to go. And because it's going to go exactly as I think it will, that means that, Ray Davis is going to get 10 carries in the fourth quarter and I'll get a garbage time touchdown. And that's where I would just say this is really dangerous thinking, especially in a non-bye week when you don't need to play guys like that, right? Like you shouldn't be at that stage where you're just hoping for some garbage time from somebody. And we, it's the NFL. Crazy stuff happens, and we get our predictions about game flow wrong all the time. That said, last week the Saints were done with like 2 minutes left in the first quarter. I will say it was not Spencer Rattler and it was not the offense. It wasn't even defense. It was special teams, right? There was a special teams touchdown. There was another really long return. I think there's like a block punt in it. Like it was terrible. Just an absolute spectacular failure of special teams, and they were cooked at the end of the first quarter, like legitimately cooked. And I don't think that's going to happen again, but I would be shocked if this game was competitive at the end of 3 quarters, because the Saints have had 2 games this year in which they've only scored 1 offensive touchdown, right? They've landed on 13 a couple of different times. So that can definitely happen again. If you're the Saints, you gotta be looking for a landing spot. What you asked, but you got to be looking for a landing spot for Alvin Kamara, because we're just wasting him. We're just wasting a year of his career. There are competitive teams out there that would surely give you a decent enough pick for Alvin Kamara. I'm not a believer in Spencer Rattler necessarily. They do have some offensive weapons, and it's not that difficult to imagine the Saints getting to 21, 24, giving you the kind of competitive game that Miami gave you. That's in the cards. So, and for that reason, you can't really plan on garbage time.
I would love if the Bills traded for Chris Olave. Looking at his contract, all right, like they should be sellers. That time will tell, and I love that advice. Andy, I hit it last week. Streaming defenses, when you get something like Minnesota, wow, that is just that was just so joyous. And Danger isn't here today. He'd be like, oh, that was Carson Wentz. I'm like, I don't know. It was a lot of different things for the Vikings. So the question being about streaming defenses, who are some of the plays, some of the matchups that you would recommend this week?
Well, the thing that was so great about Minnesota, obviously, and this is going to hold up all year, is that they were facing Cincinnati. And usually, we've talked about this before. One of the things that we try to pick on when we're looking for defenses to stream are just sketchy quarterbacks who are going to have to drop back a ton. And that's going to be the case for Cincinnati basically for the rest of the season. Now, you can't stream against them this week because it's Denver, and Denver is probably on somebody's roster. But you have to look for opportunities like that. So this week, one of the defenses that's available in roughly 50% of leagues is the Detroit Lions. And number one, they'll get after your passer, right? We saw that last week with Lamar. They sacked Lamar 7 times. Who does that? Well, they get the Browns this week. And the Lions are going to put up a number. They're at home. The Browns are good defense, definitely a good defense. But, we just saw the Lions put up numbers against a pretty good defense on the road. So I think Cleveland's going to have to put the ball in the air 35, 45 times, something like that. And it's going to be some combination of Joe Flacco and Dylan Gabriel. And you will want to take advantage of that because there are probably a half dozen more sacks there. There are probably a couple of turnovers there as well.
Andy, tell our audience about the deep shot because we want more of your content here. We want to kind of sharpen up here.
Oh, I really appreciate that. Yeah, the Deep Shot is thedeepshot.com is where you can find everything that I am writing, everything that Dalton Del Don is writing. A lot of goodies up there. We have our ranks up there now. Dalton has some DFS recommendations for you. I had the waiver wire recs just a couple days ago. So all the good stuff to help you get through the fantasy week.
Okay, leaving you with this Chicago trivia question. I'm putting you on the spot, right? So the Cubs are going to the postseason. Yay. Okay, and I'm happy for, all Cub fans, and that should be, a great setting. Prior to the Cubs this year, Andy, of the 4 major sports, who was the last Chicago pro sports team to make the postseason?
The last Chicago pro sports team to make the postseason, was it the Sky?
Well, it probably would be. I'm just counting NFL, NHL, NBA, and baseball.
Oh my goodness. Was it the White Sox?
It was the White Sox.
Yeah.
It was. If that doesn't tell you, I actually feel sorry for Chicago sports fans if you got to go through half a decade like nothing at all. Anyone? Hey, we have the number 1 overall pick in hockey. No. The Eastern Conference NBA not very good. No, nothing at all.
It really does feel like, somebody made a deal with the devil when the Cubs won in 2016. It's been a bumpy ride since then, for sure.
Well, who knows? Maybe this will be a lot of fun. Andy, thank you for your time. Really appreciate this, and good luck this week.
Oh, good luck to you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Andy. Andy Behrens with the deep shot. Yeah, that was joyous. Like the Minnesota defense, like they scored again. Wait, that's a different highlight. What, they scored again?
But wait, there's more.
It's right. And for Bengal fans, Bengal fans have to know, right? We invite on Bengal reporters and podcasters, and because they're relevant, right? Oh no, it's not. They're not cheap. That's a national net. No, this is what happens when you're cheap. You don't invest in an offensive line. You're not investing in a scouting department to make good draft choices. That team's not going anywhere, Tim. They
chose to not go somewhere.
Yeah, I've heard the Bengals should go trade for Kirk Cousins. Go ahead, knock yourself out. That's going to make any difference? They're doomed.
No, it's just going to get somebody else hurt. Kirk Cousins is not going to stay healthy behind that line.
They're doomed. And maybe this is the year. Listen to me on this. If the Bills open up against, Baltimore and then the Bengals week 2, and this is where you and I diverge here, sports fans, that's okay. I love schedule release. I love trying to find the clues. I love trying to dig. You're like, I don't care. Wake me up in September. And that's fair too. But it is the one sport because of things like this that absolutely matter.
It matters who you play and when you play them, sure, but at the end of the day, you know your opponents. Just throw them out there.
No. The Cincinnati Bengals with Joe Burrow, different opponent. The Cincinnati Bengals, when they come in December, are you kidding me? That's a 4:25. They might get flexed to 1 o'clock. I'm not kidding you, Tim. Like the way the Bengals are going, and I could just see this team going into reverse, and like at that point, Joe Burrow's like, what am I coming back for at this point? That makes a world of difference. And here's my point on the Bills, the bigger point. And credit to my friend Mo, Havana Mo's. Mo, good point today. The road is paved for the Buffalo Bills. It's paved. The schedule, you couldn't lay it out any better. You look at Baltimore, okay, yeah, we got the tiebreaker on you. You look at Kansas City, yeah, we're 2 up on you, and you're coming here. Fantastic. You look at the division, it's crap. You are never going to have a road paved as easy as this. We are never going to have games like this in September. How much anxiety do you have over the Bills Saints? Zero. None. You shouldn't have any. Now, say the Saints drive and they kick a field goal. Oh, my God. Okay, maybe we'll get to that point on Sunday. But are we going to really have anxiety over the Patriots? Have you seen Drake May play? Do you not think that after a whole Diggs drama behind the scenes that really that guy's going to come back in his first game and the Bills going to get over on Buffalo? You think that the Bills are going to allow, they're going to look past? I think, Tim, Monday night in Atlanta, maybe the Bills get tripped up there. The Bills are not going 17-0.
Sure.
But as far as the way the season is starting off, and when you get to these landmarks along the way, and the one thing we said about the schedule, well, you're spreading out these opponents, it should look really good. When the Chiefs come in November 2nd, yeah, the Bills will be favored. And we're going to expect the Bills to win. That's kind of different with the Bills-Chiefs game, is it not? When the Bengals come in December, okay, yeah, good luck. Oh, maybe see what that team is like. Okay, the Eagles, different story. I can't tell you what that's game. Maybe that game doesn't mean anything. Like, tell me where oh my gosh, the Bills can't win this game anxiety comes into you. If you're saying Atlanta on Monday night, they got shut out against Carolina. We're worried about that?
The Bills will have a hiccup, and to expect them to go 17-0 is a little bit crazy, but they will be favored, likely, in all 17 of these games.
Yeah.
Will they win all of them? Probably not. It's the NFL. Stuff happens. But I said earlier in the week, they've practically, in like half tongue-in-cheek, they've practically already clinched the 1 seed in the AFC, especially with the Ravens and Chiefs having to play each other this week. If that goes either way, the Bills are satisfied with that result.
The expectation is the 1 seed. And I'm listening to, Link Fury this morning with DiBiase, and they're talking about playoff. Right. How do these brackets line up? Would you want the Chiefs as a wild card? Because guess what? The Chiefs as a wild card is a 6, beating the Colts as a 3, let's just say. Well, congratulations. That's your divisional round opponent. Whatever the case may be. When we get to the postseason, it's going to be different.
It's a different beast.
It's a different beast, but you get 2 weeks off to prepare for the first game, and then you get to host the AFC Championship game. That is the path that has to happen. As I'm banging my hand on this table. Thanks to Andy Behrens from the Deep Shot for the fantasy advice. I like how he said in the nicest way that, Gene, your logic is flawed. When it comes to, the Saints a good play this week because the Bills will be up so much and the Saints are going to have to throw at the end. He's like, yeah, no, I love this question. And no.
The walk-ons will be ready.
Yeah. We've got shots coming up in the sports bar. We got time for your calls. Happy hour is here, and last call is on the way. So the show is much better with your participation. You can write to us on X. The fan, again, topic, if you just get in your car, we're going to have some news, Rochester-based sports news for tomorrow, but sworn to secrecy. If you would like to take a guess, please do so only as a wrong answer. I'll read more of your wrong answers coming up here in a little bit. You can hit us up on X or in the comment box on YouTube, 866-4326 here on The Fan.
update.
AJ Epineza back at practice today for the Buffalo Bills. Still listed as limited. In fact, the entire injury report, same as yesterday. Spencer Brown, Matt Milano, and Oliver all not practicing. Josh Allen expects the Saints defense to come after him.
The challenge is, again, they're going to have their ears pinned back. They want to win as badly as anybody in the league right now. And again, there's no easy games in this league. They're going to come out, they're going to have their best shot, and we got to figure out how to stop that and adjust accordingly during the game.
Sabres preseason game number 3 coming up tonight in Detroit. The baseball scoreboard, we will have more coming up next in our shot segment. Sports is brought to you by GetMyPerks.com, where today 2-for-1 season passes to Stokey Farms. Get some fall fun for this and other great deals. Log on to GetMyPerks.com today. Gene Pataglia, the sports leader, the Fan Rochester.
Odyssey is your home for football. Stay up to date on everything Bills, no matter where you are, with the Odyssey app and the sports leader, the Fan, Rochester.
Well, if the Reds sneak in, we're going to all point to this one play. Welcome back to the Sports Bar. Gene Pataglia with you. Mike Danger out today. Tim Schneider is here. The Reds avoid getting swept by Pittsburgh, but it's Noelvi Marte jumping the wall. How many outs were there? 1 out in the ninth?
1 out in the ninth. He made the second.
Okay. So that play then, and robbing Brian
and
Reynolds. Yeah, and so fantastic play by the Reds. So with that, Cincinnati now a half game back of the Mets. The Mets tonight are going to send one of the 3 rookies out there, McLean, to the mound in Chicago. McLean's been okay, 4-1, a decent ERA. They're going to need him tonight because if the Mets lose this game, they'll be entering the final weekend, Tim, tied with the Reds, but technically behind the Reds because the Reds own the season tiebreaker. Now, also part of this party entering today, that would be the Arizona Diamondbacks, which to me is hilarious, and to me it's also an indictment of Major League Baseball, that a team that could trade their starting first baseman and their starting third baseman and just kind of say, not this year, and somehow is still around and not investing in any payroll or anything. Well, the Diamondbacks didn't win last night. They were 2 behind in the column. Actually 1, but they're going to be 2. Why? They're down 8-0 to the Dodgers right now. So that is one game we don't have to worry about. Another game in the postseason chase, that would be the Astros. So the Astros suddenly facing a situation where they're looking at being a wild card. Seattle, no concerns there. They're going to get that division. So Houston right now, they're 1 game back at Detroit. Isn't that crazy? Detroit, after all this, they'd be getting a bye. Now they're might be out altogether. Houston's up 9-0 on Atlanta. If the Tigers lose again to the Guardians, that's coming up at 6:40 tonight. Well, not only will the Guardians lengthen their lead here, Tim, to 2 games over Detroit, which would really be 3 because they would have the tiebreaker. Then you would have the Tigers and the Astros tied dead even for that last wild card spot in the American League.
It makes for a crazy time for baseball. And again, 2 weeks ago, we were looking at a completely different picture. The way that it's been painted over the last 10 to 15 days is absolutely insane. And for us to be willingly and factually talking about possibly Boston, Detroit, or Houston, one of those 3 not in the playoffs as compared to a week ago, it's pretty insane. But one of those teams will certainly miss the playoffs with just one more Cleveland victory.
So with the free fall of the Tigers, we're really not talking about the Blue Jays as much. Now, the Blue Jays didn't have this big fat lead like Detroit, but the Blue Jays enter tonight dead even with the Yankees in the AL East. So the Yankees went from all right, maybe we host the wild card. Now Yankee fans can say, wait a second, maybe actually we're going to be in a position to actually get a bye here. This was hilarious, except if you're a Blue Jay fan, you don't find this very funny. Base hit to right field by the catcher, Alejandro Kirk.
Oh, yeah.
Except it's not really a base hit. It's a 9-3 putout to end the game. That's rare when you see a right fielder throw out somebody at first base. It can be done, and if you have somebody as slow as Alejandro Kirk running down the line, but the idea that And you've watched this now. He didn't run with any urgency. I think that was really on Kirk. He gets that game is over. It's not that the Blue Jays would have won that game, but that could just be symbolic of just kind of how the Blue Jays at the time were trailing 7-1. So it's not the reason they lost, but I've never seen that play to end a game, Tim.
Expecting that ball to get lollipop back into the second baseman and continue it, and he got caught sleeping, waddling to first base. And again, they weren't going to come back and win that game, but to not even give yourself an opportunity as a professional athlete, not a good look, especially with the division race being what it is.
Former Rochester Americans head coach Chris Taylor. I mean, we love Tails, right? Tails, former player in the Amerks Hall of Fame. Loved him as a coach here. Thought he got a real raw deal from the Sabres, right? And still family in the area. Tails is now the associate head coach of the Seattle Kraken. It's a pretty good gig. He's going to run the power play out there. Tails isn't in there this week, and he's probably not going to be in there next week. Someone during practice, I'm not sure who did the story, took out his skates. Taylor falling backward, hitting his head on the ice. Concussion, also some whiplash. So no preseason games here for Tails, and we wish him a speedy recovery. So.
Speedy recovery indeed. And when you hit a certain age, not to say that he's old by any stretch, but you don't recover the way you used to. So it's going to take some time, and hopefully he's back behind the bench in no time.
Sounds like you're talking from experience there, terrible time.
I feel awful every day at 37. I felt terrible since I was 28. So, yeah, you hit a certain age. Mine was 28.
Oh, my gosh.
It's been a decade of feeling like trash, so I can't imagine what it's like at that.
Tim, take a peek behind the curtain there. Nutrition, hydration. Are we doing anything to take care of the body? Or
that's a different conversation.
No, it's not the same conversation.
What
would Tom Brady say about your diet there? Terrible time.
Probably that.
Yeah,
terrible.
He would be.
I'm doing what I can.
Fuller Panther captain Alexander Barkov needed to be helped off the ice. It's a right leg injury. I haven't seen any update here, Tim. Paul Maurice downplaying it, says he's going for further evaluation.
Ow!
Oh.
I was hoping.
I didn't know it was coming back that far.
I was hoping that this was going to be brought up because not 10 minutes ago, Zig Fracasso, friend of the show.
Zig Fracasso, yep.
He tweeted or retweeted something that the Panthers are awaiting clarity on the Barkov injury, but it sounds like there is internal concern that it is ACL related. So nothing official, but when Andy Barron said made a deal with the devil with the Cubs, this might be the deal that the Panthers had to sign to win 2 cups.
Yeah, when you hear this, helped off the ice and no details, that was like, nobody's really reporting on this. And then you have to Chuck, who's going to be out basically until the calendar year turns. This ain't looking good for Florida, Tim.
When you're staring at a three-peat and you're already behind the 8 ball, before you've even played a game,
losing Barkov would suck. That would suck. All right, thank you for the breaking news there, Tim. And good job by you to find the breaking news.
Thank you.
Who is the best golfer that hasn't won a major? It comes up, right? You could say it's Victor Hovland. Hovland is going to be on enemy turf this week, playing for Team Europe. The Ryder Cup taking place at Bethpage Black downstate. Hovland isn't concerned about the crowd getting on him. Quote, there's going to be some comments here and there. They won't really come close to the thoughts that I have in my own head. Wow, that's some sports psychology there. Like, so what are you saying, Victor? Yell anything you want? What is in your head?
He's probably my favorite European golfer right now. I hope he gets one, but I hope the Ryder Cup goes to the U.S.
Remember Seahawks running back Sean Alexander?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Congratulations to Sean and his wife, Valerie. They're expecting a child.
How many?
Oh, you know this. You saw this.
Mm-hmm.
You remember with LeBron did not 1, not 2, not 3. And if you're a long-time sports, quick story here, and I'm not going to repeat this because this isn't me, but we're like a month into the sports bar, and we're doing a story like this. And laughing because, like, Like you're still getting to know the what you're doing with the guy on the air, and if he was on the air today, I know exactly he'd bring this up. Story comes up with Phillip Rivers, and Phillip Rivers, hey, and I just was like, wow, congratulations to Phillip Rivers and his wife, as they are expecting their 8th child, and teacher like he says, I'll clean it up as best I can. He's like, it's not a clown car. Oh gosh. I'm like, okay, this is going to be a different type of sports show. I realized right then and there. We should point out, Sean and Valerie Alexander got married in the year 2002. Tim, for those keeping score at home, 14 kids in 23 years of marriage. Or more accurately, 13 with one on the way in 23 years of marriage.
That's beyond a baseball lineup. That's an entire basketball roster.
That's... You have 4 lines in hockey and 2 goaltenders. We can do the math here, or we can be endless on this, Tim.
You've got a special teams and some captains.
Inviting your comments too on our take. So tomorrow, like we like to do at the end. Hey, what's coming up tomorrow? Listen tomorrow. Tomorrow we're gonna have a story, a Rochester-based story that I have been sworn to secrecy. I'm not going to tell you, but we can take your wrong guesses. And I got some more wrong guesses about what's going to be announced tomorrow in Rochester. If you are so inclined, hit us up on X or in the comment section on YouTube, or you can call us at 866-4FAN, 866-4326. Last call is on the way next here on The Fan Rochester.
Sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Last call is for you here in the Sports Bar at number 866-4FAN, 585-866-4326. Fun show we've had today. And one of the things is we're looking ahead tomorrow. Normally I would tease what's coming up tomorrow, and I can't. Well, I guess technically it is a tease where I'm saying, hey, you'll want to be listening, but I can't tell you what exactly it is other than, hey, there's going to be some Rochester sports news tomorrow. But I was sworn to secrecy. Just like Tim was sworn to secrecy about the PGA coming to Rochester. There's something that's going to be announced tomorrow. It's not my place to announce this. We'll let that happen. And so I asked, hey, right on X here, like, let's have some fun with this. Since I can't announce this right now, give me your wrong answers only. Matt writing in, Blue Cross Arena is being renamed as Garbage Plate Center. Another one writing in, Chris, the Jeffersons are being reborn. Nope, had that earlier. I don't think that's going to be the case. I can tell you that's not going to be it. What else do we have here, Tim? You're getting these two here. Steve writing in, Rochester's High Falls Hooligans will be joining the rejoining Major League Rugby. Say that again. 2027 for its inaugural season. No, that's not it. Steve also writing to us, I know too. Handshake emoji. Now that's next level stuff. And Steve, I don't doubt that you might have heard this or you've got a source that knows what we're talking about here. But that's also a good way to try to fish it out of somebody
that,
too. Yeah. Like,
respectable.
I know. And then just
What do
nod
you know?
yeah. What do you know?
You go first.
And to everybody's credit, if you do know, again, it's not like, hey, this is going to pump a lot of money into our economy like in 2035, the PGA Championship announcement. But
I do wonder on things that are kept secret like this. Obviously, there's leaks, but they don't always leak out. Like, how many people know but are entrusted, and then it's all just a circle of everybody knowing and not talking about it?
I think that's what it is right now. It's a circle of trust.
I wish I was inside of it.
Yeah, they let me inside the circle of trust. I'm like,
maybe someday.
Okay. Actually, I'm being good. I'm being good. I was always the kid that would just blabber about stuff. I know that's shocking to him, right? They're just,
Well, now you get paid to do it, so.
Yeah, that's true. Baseball.
Sports.
Dodgers leading the Diamondbacks 8-0. So can we say goodbye to Arizona?
Just about.
Yeah. Houston's leading Sacramento 9-1. Wonder what that is like. A getaway Thursday, a getaway Wednesday in September when school is back in session and nobody's really traveling.
In a city that
Sacramento.
isn't technically a major league city.
Right.
Like they're hosting the Athletics.
It amazes me that the Athletics and Major League Baseball wouldn't say, you know what, this isn't long term, but let's form a connection that we'll have for years. And at the very least, maybe we'll wear a jersey that says Sacramento. Why couldn't they do that? If it were like, can you imagine like, hey, Rochester, you're going to have a major league team, but you can't call it Rochester. What?
No thanks, I'm out.
Right.
You're going to infiltrate our land, but not let us enjoy it?
All this, I mean, we wouldn't complain. We would go all the time. And it's not like Sacramento is a minor league team. They have an NBA team, Tim. They are the state capital of California. They have some things going for it. So you would think, and there's enough separation to what happened in Oakland, right? Where everybody be like, oh, that would be like us and say Albany. Oh, it's really too bad that, the Albany Firewolves, you lost your team.
To Oshawa.
Yeah, but do we care? No. So, like, I would think a lot of people, like, in Sacramento be like, oh, that kind of sucks about the A's, but glad we have them. Well, it's such a missed opportunity. I'm just wondering though. Like you see the Raiders and how they don't have a home field advantage playing Vegas. They sold to the devil. They wanted a new stadium, whatever. You think that's going to be any better with the A's? I think it's going to be worse.
It's going to be far worse.
It's going to be far worse. Every game is going to be a party for the opposing fan base.
Watching the construction of it was pretty neat, though, when I was out there. It's
right,
definitely a scene. But I'm not sure. Like, they've got a AAA team, but that's not the same level as that's like Rochester, which would be awesome to have, like what the Buffalo got to experience with the Blue Jays. That would be awesome, but I don't know if we could do it full term.
No, it would be very short term. Gosh, we had Major League Sports here in a lifetime. It was the Sabres against the Devils, Sabres against the Caps.
I was there for that, yeah.
Yeah, I was there for them both. It was a lot of fun. If you missed any of the show today, you can download the Odyssey app, go back and listen in time. Tomorrow on the show, all right, so the announcement we can't talk about, the news we can't talk about. We will also talk Buffalo Bills football with DA, Damon Amendolara, who is the host of the Bill Maddock podcast, and he's actually going to be in Buffalo this weekend. We'll explain where you can catch up with DA if you want to head out to the Queen City. Coming up on Saturday, he's going to have an appearance. Not sure if he's going to be hanging out tailgate, too. I would imagine so. Tim, you will be back tomorrow whether you like it or not.
I will be here, and I like it, I think.
So, again, thank you for watching to everybody on YouTube and Twitch. And stick around. The JR Sport Brief coming your way next. Let's hope the Mets get this done tonight, or else I'm going to be in a really pissy mood tomorrow on a Friday, and you don't want that. My name's Gene Battaglia. Danger will be back on Monday. This is The Fan Rochester. Have a good night, everyone.
You're listening to The Sports Bar.